Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Live.
Hagel drifting to the slot, got it across the... Getzel's got a hat trick, and we're tied at 5.
For Michigan State. This is one of the elite defenses, not just in this league, but nationally.
And Traore and the Hawkeyes are carving it up right now, Ravi.
Tough shooting weekends with a senior. Glover inside. Oh, Dekane. Glover over Abankali. Jason Glover hanging in the air.
Our guys are resilient. They're tough. We had that last time out, and I like J.J. calling that last time out with 5 minutes to play, but we were able to withstand the run, and tough win. And for the first game in conference tournament, we knew it was going to be like that.
Vrzal thought she had a seed. Petrie now getting into the paint. Walled up by Bostic. Bojan throwing it up and earning a three-point play. Taking her downhill, using her power to float it up and in.
I mean, she went in there like the Heisman Trophy pose.
Nisley posting up in the paint, don't often see that. Decides against the up and under. It's Petrie draining a three.
Prince has it, they don't take it away, and that is a Nebraska comeback winner. That is a Nebraska winner. The Huskers win it in Indianapolis in the second round. Nebraska knocks off Illinois 74-70, and I am as proud of this Nebraska team as a radio announcer can be.
Good morning. Welcome into Hurrdat Sports Live, presented by Centris Federal Credit Union. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla, and I'm as proud of this program as a co-host can be.
I am so proud.
All right, Paul Rhodes.
It's pretty good, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's not bad.
It's about all I got today.
I'm more of a Matt Campbell guy myself, but
Team Campbell?
I like Matt Campbell.
And Campbell you trust?
Yeah, like chunky soup.
Oh, yeah.
You're more of an Earl guy. No, you didn't like how Earl Campbell ran, did you?
No, but I have a lot of respect for Earl.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he left it out there.
Yeah.
So I'm good on Earl.
Hard runner.
Yeah.
Yeah. You were a Dickerson guy, right?
See, very much so.
Although he's a little upright for you.
He is, but he's a glider and he made it work.
All right.
Edie didn't take a ton of good shots. I think, the young me was captivated by his effortless running style.
Yeah. It was pretty to watch.
The old me would probably say, wonder how tough he really was. But, I'm splitting hairs.
Worked out for him.
Yeah, I like his running style quite a bit.
I do like kind of the smooth operators, the gliders.
You're a big Sade guy?
Sade.
I'm a smooth operator.
It's not a bad song.
Yeah. I had my old roommate, Mr. Dumas, the silent assassin.
TD.
Was a big Sade guy.
Yeah?
Yeah. He kind of, I have that weird music taste. It's super eclectic.
Mm-hmm.
I think he made it okay.
Really?
Yeah.
Because he was just like, I like what I like.
Yep. And he's a Cheyenne guy, grew up over there on Big Sur Ave. And so he's Army brat.
Yeah.
Has moved a little bit. So I think he was cool with whoever and whatever.
Yeah.
So while I didn't master my security, certainly not then.
He helped start
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, some days I would get up. This dude would be playing like, I'm going to give a bad example. That's probably a stretch, but not too. Like he'd be playing Pearl Jam.
Oh, okay.
And then the next day, it'd be Cypress Hill. And I'm like, that's interesting.
My guy's got range.
He does.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's definitely his own man.
He definitely does come across as like a real cool customer.
He is. And when I first started living with him, we both were about to be solo. Because I started with Clinton, and that was pretty self-destructive on my part. So, he was just walking. He was moving his stuff into Harper.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, "Hey, man, what are you doing?" I barely knew the dude.
Yeah.
Like he just never looked up. He's always looking at the ground. He's a big dude. And he walked on the balls of his feet, so I kind of thought it was cool. He had like a hooper's walk, but he wasn't really a hooper. And he's like, man, I'm getting ready to move, man. Got to do my own thing. So I was a little intimidated. I was like, do you want a roommate? Because I didn't want to. He was a year older, and he was coming back to the dorms.
Yeah.
So I was like.
Which was unusual, right?
Well, he might kind of be a normal dude.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to get stuck with flipping Ravi Lulla, right? So I wanted to be with somebody that I wanted to be with an athlete. So he acquiesced, and then he was my roommate my whole entire time.
NCCAA Division II basketball is still athletes.
My man,
right?
who are you? What's her name? I almost said Jennifer Hudson. It's not Jennifer Hudson. They're not even the same complexion. What's Belichick's lady friend's name?
Jordan Hudson. Jordan Hudson.
That's your Bridgewater.
Bridgewater. Dude, Bridgewater probably would have whooped our ass.
Bridgewater just gave you the business.
Oh, 100%. Bridgewater would have had to pay us to come play him.
Yeah. So that was the start,
man.
And then we would go hoop. We'd go hoop together, and we always played against because our three of our neighbors were Sarah Sinclair, who was later Sarah Williams, Emily Thompson, hooper, and they had another hooper over there. She's gonna be mad I forgot her name, but whatever. So we would walk over to the Devaney.
Yeah. And
then we just start playing intramurals with them. Like we would scrimmage the girls' team. Speaking of which, how about them?
Go get that W.
Man, I love watching them.
They were fighting too.
Imagine if they were healthy.
Yeah.
Right? I did see.
And I think we forget about that a little bit.
I did see Potts on TikTok though.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're you can tell they're extremely close.
I do it's weird. We kind of ignore injuries when a team's been successful.
Mm-hmm.
Because we kind of do the same thing with Creighton a little bit.
She lost 2 of the top 5 in her rotation.
And
6.
Just kept on going.
Yeah. She's sensational. Coach Williams.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, and she has a lot of characteristics that are historically stereotyped to be possessed by men.
Okay.
Right? And she makes it work. She is unbelievable. And because of her background as a walk-on that had to play hard and earn everything, anything is free game.
Yeah.
Right? Highly touted, not highly touted. They recruit specific types of personalities. Mm-hmm. She's uber competitive. It's I mean, she's one of those moms. Mm-hmm. Like I wouldn't say she was going to rush Kennedy back, but she sure was staying on the gas. Right? Like there was no whole lot
wasting any time.
Yeah, like it just the whole nature versus nurture thing. She's bucking that thing. Hey man, it's go time.
Yeah,
if you can play, let's ride.
Yeah, I mean,
and conversely, the dad. Wait,
you sure?
Yeah, you sure?
You sure?
I'm kind of
maybe
scared.
Day?
Yeah.
You 100%?
Yeah, so they balled, man, because I mean Illinois is obviously a tough out.
Yeah.
As the 7, and they had their hands full with Illinois.
Well, and how much? How much did they get down by?
Oh, double digits, 16 maybe.
Yeah, like it was aggressive for a minute there.
And not to go all Billis, but I think the foul situation and them playing the style with quarters. Mm-hmm. Actually helps because they have these big quarters, mm-hmm. like swings.
Yeah, like momentum swings.
Yeah, you see that a ton in the women's game. It's like
you see it. Yeah, I do think the quarters lend themselves to it.
I do. And people don't talk about that because I think it's anecdotal. Yeah. I don't know if you can prove it.
Probably not. But if you watch enough,
But it does seem. Yeah, no, Lord knows I do.
Well, especially across different levels, right? Because you watch a ton of literally everybody does quarters except for men's college, right? Yeah. So. You watch a ton of high school, you watch a ton of NBA, you watch a ton of women's college basketball. Mm-hmm. But you see it at the break in men's college basketball. Like the halftime does change the momentum, and you're just doing that 2 additional times over the course of the game. It makes sense that it would.
Yeah, so when their thing is they got to defend the arc, mm-hmm. which kind of historically in her tenure has been kind of the Achilles, the bugaboo, if you will.
Haven't always been great at it.
But man, they got their hands full with UCLA coming up though.
Well, and I like that they fight. I like that they fight. I like that they're capable. I like that. we talked about this a little bit last year with like Nebraska's offensive line, right? They missed 2 or 3 starters at a certain point, but Coach Raiola did such a good job that we didn't really even talk about it, right? We don't talk about Natalie Potts right now for the most part.
Yeah.
Right? Like we don't talk about the injuries. We don't talk about who they're missing. Where it's like, oh man, looks like, I mean, their bracketology right now, they're one of the last 4 buys in the NCAA tournament. Last night probably helps them secure that, I would imagine. I don't know that anybody probably needs them to beat UCLA to secure that spot. So I appreciate when you go through adversity and it's not the story.
Yeah, she is kind of rebuilt her staff on the fly quietly.
Yeah.
Because it could have gone sideways.
Oh, for sure.
And she just didn't allow it to happen, man. And make that run.
All while kind of bringing along.
Yeah, and she's a friend of the show, so we appreciate that.
Always. And she, all while kind of bringing along that, and this is harder than people think, a really highly touted sort of like prodigy prospect with Britt Prince, where like that's not super easy.
Yeah, I am.
Especially when you've got other good players already.
Yeah, so watching her, she kind of hits at kind of the core of what I like. Even though she's more talented than I typically gravitate towards when I assess these attributes.
Yeah.
Because usually, I don't know, they're not as supremely better than their competitors as she is when I look for this trait.
Sure.
She is extremely coachable, and she's always like working on things. She's just constantly building her portfolio. Like she's playing a completely different way than she had to in college, or in high school. Even her high school team was loaded. I mean, make no mistake about it. But she hunts when she wants to hunt. She distributes her getting to her spots on the floor and learning to play with Markowski, because it's playing with a post. When you're not used to playing with a post,
it's different.
That's a lot different,
especially now.
Especially when when you like lane space. Well, so I like a lot of the little subtle nuances that they do.
Well, especially now when people don't play through a post a ton.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not something you get a lot of experience doing really at any level. We've seen Creighton struggle with it with Kalkbrenner. Right. They struggle to get the ball into him pretty consistently. Right. That dude should have way more attempts and way more touches than he does, and they just can't get it to him. It is really. I've been really impressed with the way she's sort of adjusted her game, again, to playing with other good players.
Yeah.
And not that she wasn't at Elkhorn North, but like Alexis Markowski is a baller.
Just the trust factor.
Yeah. And I do wonder how much, since her mom was a coach or is a coach, how much that has to do with her coachability, right? Because I have to imagine uncoachability would not have been accepted in that household.
Uncoachability? Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And Anne's tough.
Yeah.
No, I had a podcast segment with her. It was probably, 30 minutes. Talked about coaching kids. And, of course, you know me, I was trying to cheat and take notes. Because that was probably Britt's junior year.
Yeah.
I think I did a sit-down with her. So it just I like the evolution. And she's becoming kind of an extension of her of her coach's personality.
Yeah.
Not a lot of facial expressions. She just kind of keeps playing. She is, her poise is something else.
So you got Nebraska women getting it done last night, Omaha men getting it done last night as well.
Huge.
Needed that one.
Huge.
I mean, you need all of them really, but
yeah, I mean, from here on out. Right?
Yeah, I mean that's kind of how it goes. I mean, you don't want to be in a spot. I know there's another path, but you don't want to be in a spot where you're just left rooting for St. Thomas.
Are you even allowing yourself to look at bid stealers, or are you just like,
oh no, I'm looking at bid stealers.
Handle your business?
I'm looking at bid stealers. I 100% am, because
really, that seems so complicated.
I mean, it is, but I kind of like these mid-major tournaments anyway.
Yeah.
So it's not that much. I kind of know who's supposed to win and who's not, and so I kind of go, that would be bad for Nebraska.
So you're cheering your brains out for Drake?
You got to, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and here's what almost concerns me more. Because at this point, and I know I'm going to probably catch some hate for this, at this point, Nebraska's had their opportunities to play their way into the tournament. At this point, I'm more concerned for Drake.
Why would you catch hate? Oh, because you want Drake in?
I'm more concerned about Drake in than I am about Nebraska.
Yeah, I probably hate you for that.
That's fine, but
that's a little strong.
You know how I love the mid-majors. I get really upset when teams that deserve a spot and are only not afforded that opportunity because of the league they play in get passed over for a team that.
Oh, Ravi here for the little guys.
You know me. I'm always here for the underdog.
Is that why you're so nice to Shane? Because that ain't it.
Because I'm the underdog?
Sure. Well, I think anything about you it's either under the measurements for joyrides and Captain Underpants, which is a character in the kids' book. Those are the two things I think of under. But I just want you to know, me and you, man, we're OFs. We are only friends.
Hey, you can't blame Shane. He's the glue.
Yeah, whatever. Whatever.
But no, I get very frustrated with power conference teams that get in despite the fact that they kind of went out of their way not to play their way in. And Drake all year has played their way into the tournament.
I can't believe you're carrying this banner. This is not where I thought you would be going this morning.
Really?
Of level of things that are gonna aggravate.
This bothers me a lot with mid majors. Originally it's a Creighton thing. If I'm being honest, right? Obviously that's not a problem for Creighton anymore, but that's where it started. Just growing up watching Missouri Valley teams. I'm like, hey, these teams I get that they're not, what the ACC used to be or whatever. I get it's not the same thing, but these are tough teams to play twice a year and then a third time. Like losing in those conference tournaments is not the blemish that I think most people think it is, because you've played those teams.
Like bad skin?
Yeah, you can name a little concealer or something or whatever.
I don't even know what that is.
You do TV. They put makeup on you.
No.
They don't?
So the only thing that I use is a powder.
So it doesn't like shine?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
And it's white too, which is kind of weird. Well, okay. I know. I'm just
trying to imagine like a brown powder.
That would be nice.
It's not something I've ever seen before.
Yeah.
Like I've never seen somebody come out with like the brown powder and like.
Usually people put it in their mug and they call it cocoa.
You're just gonna start like dotting your face with like a hot cocoa. You got like a Swiss Miss packet in
there. They're like,
there.
oh my God, you smell like chocolate. And they're like, hey,
okay, that's
it's my cocoa butter lotion.
Like that,
which I think, by the way, sucks. I mean,
I'm just seeing DB out here with the.
If there's anything that says bucking my cultural trend, it's me using CeraVe and being out on cocoa butter.
I think it would be powdering yourself with the Swiss Miss. I think that would.
It's in the front seat of my vehicle right now.
The Swiss Miss?
No, the powder.
CeraVe?
Yeah, no,
the powder.
Yes.
Oh, the white powder.
Yes.
Not any illegal kind of white powder.
And I can't find the lid, so I used to keep it in my shaving kit.
Yeah.
But I can't find the lid, so it just sits upright. I pin it between my two cup holders.
Oh, you gotta be careful there. You're gonna end up with a mess.
No, it's pinned.
All right.
You know how you can put your two drinks in there, and then there's the little thin strip.
Yeah.
So it looks like if you look at the top view, it looks like a dumbbell.
Yeah.
Yeah, I put it in the part where the bar would be in essence.
All right.
I don't have anything else to do with it.
I mean, I trust you. I'm concerned. I don't want my friend riding around with loose white powder in his car.
I try not to make a lot of messes.
I understand. It's pretty buttoned up.
Yeah. Yes, indeed.
Some would call it OCD. I wouldn't, personally.
Did I tell you about yesterday being here for the appreciation event?
No.
Wait, is that customer appreciation? Whatever it was.
Client appreciation.
Client.
Yeah, so anybody that works with us.
Client.
We had them
appreciation.
Come out.
You missed it since you left me hanging for about an hour and 30 minutes, which is totally fine. Not that I was counting.
That's my bad.
And not that I needed my handheld.
It was like an hour 10, but that's okay.
I was back there in the kitchen.
So you just like
I'm telling you, I'm a common man kind of guy, Ravi. Okay.
Our clients are common people.
DB here for the working class. Which, by the way,
DB
I learned the secret of the fish. I know.
What are they doing with
I
it?
know what we're on.
Did you see it?
You will like the batter. He's like, hey man, I could whip you up one. And I was like, no, that's okay. That's okay. I appreciate it. Okay. But we are going to launch the burger. We are going to launch the burger.
Yeah.
And I was trying to be cost effective.
Yeah.
Right? Because
trying to look out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't want to have like these exotic ingredients that nobody's ever going to be able to use again.
Which, by the way, I'd say my last 36 hours, you're going to be like, man.
What'd you eat?
Nah, it ain't that.
Oh, okay.
Trying to be cost effective.
Exotic.
So I was telling him, I was like, yeah, I kind of like. There's this short rib. There's this short rib component because it's already in inventory.
Yeah.
But my druthers is a sausage patty.
Yeah.
And he's like, look, come here, man. Let me talk to you. So he's like teaching me about inventory.
Yeah.
And he's like, cost prohibitiveness. He didn't say, he said prohibitive, which shocked me because, by the way, don't judge a book by its cover. Don't judge a book by its cover. Don't let the ink and all that fool you. Like,
well, you don't think you know the word prohibitive?
I was like, well, shoot, I don't use it. But then look, I suppose I'm bucking the trend too. But anyway, it's neither here nor there. You go ahead, keep laughing at me because this is what you're doing this morning, and it's fine. I'm very secure.
No, you're funny this morning.
And he's like telling me, he's like walking me through. He's like, well, actually, per burger for the cost, the sausage is cheaper. So let's just go with that.
Yeah.
I was like, cool. You gonna do the spicy sriracha mayo in house? I'm looking at
buying
him.
that.
He's like, yeah, you're getting kind of weird. Get out.
Get out my kitchen.
Get out. So yeah, man, that burger's gonna be ready.
I'm excited. Give it a try.
Me too.
Give it a try. I also need to try those fish and chips.
Once he said that, it changed my life. I went from Denny Downer to, and I started to say yes, but I didn't want to put him out because he was already schooling me a little bit.
I mean, listen, if he offered,
yeah. I like this staff.
Yeah, no,
they're pretty cool.
They seem pretty legit.
Yeah. So I'm like,
could ride with it.
And I told him too. This is where it started to get weird. Where I think he did want to say get out. I'm like, hey, I don't hang out a ton, but I do like food and being in the kitchen. If I just kind of loiter, don't pay me any mind. He looked at me like I was short. He did. I was like, all right, I'm doing too much. I want to see myself out.
Skedat right back out of there. Little skedaddle.
He's like, I was leaving and he goes, hey, man, because my boys, like, they love you, man. I'm going to tell them you're just a regular dude. I'm like, I've always been a regular dude. That's the problem.
Can I tell you guys something? Ain't nothing regular about this.
That's the problem. I like grocery shopping and saving money.
You had some people. I mean, you had some people here that you knew.
Yeah, it was a good group.
You knew Kenny. Ricky,
I knew everybody.
You know everybody.
I knew a lot of the folks. I got a book.
Oh, did you?
Yep. Eat, Bleep, and Smile, from my man. No, that's the real.
No,
title.
I know.
He was great. Mac wrote the foreword for him too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just skimming through a couple of pages. I think I can. I mean, that's gonna be my life here going forward. Just eat, bleep, and smile, right? I'm like, I like it. Make a T-shirt, but I don't cuss, so you have to give me the poop emoji.
Get like asterisks or something in there too.
The who?
Asterisks.
Oh, okay.
Asterisks.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
I feel like I need some more CeraVe this morning.
I do. I cut my hand because we've got
Stop crying.
Dry skin. So you got a little.
Oh yeah. It's cool. It's cool when you guys get dry skin too, because
a little ouchy.
Sometimes
I get dry skin all the time, man.
Sometimes you guys downplay lotion.
Oh, who's you guys?
People of lighter complexion.
I'm just saying.
Perfume and lotion.
I use a lot of lotion, man. Yeah. Like I gotta stay hydrated. Get the hands.
CeraVe, you get cracked though.
I get really dry skin.
Remember, general rule of thumb.
Yeah.
The more fragrant, the more alcohol, the more dry your skin out.
Hydrating.
Yes.
He got cracked on a run play.
Yes, he did, Coach. I will see you later.
That bums me out because I like the ones that have not like a lot of scent, but like a little bit. Like a little bit of scent on my lotion.
As long as it's not cocoa butter.
Smell good. That smells nice.
Dr. Chocolate. I don't know what you think is so funny, Shane.
Speaking of cocoa butter, do you want to get to our caller?
Yeah, let's get Kim real quick, and then we.
And the first segment?
Man, might as well. She's right here.
We're taking calls in the first segment.
We'll take calls whenever you want to call in. 888-638-4876. What's up, Kim?
Okay. This
is
how we're starting off the weekend with cocoa butter, anti-cocoa butter, and you.
Hold on, Kim. Hold on.
White powder.
I'm glad you called. Because we got to have a come to Jesus moment with our boy.
What?
Yeah, we that's way overdue.
It's just the authenticity, Kim. Sometimes I just get to talking and I have conversations. I'm sorry.
That's okay, but dude, there are brown translucent powders out there.
I would imagine so because minorities do use makeup, but I just don't know.
Yes, we do.
So do you have, what would be like the equivalent to your shine control? Like, what is that called?
You could use a matting powder.
Who?
And they do come in yes, like matte, M-A-T-T-E, not like Matt Vrzal because that's all weird.
M-A-T-T,
yeah,
M-A-T-T what? E?
M-A-T-T-E is a matte powder.
Oh,
matte.
As in like the term they use for helmets that aren't shiny.
Yeah, like a matte finish. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That's
cool.
it. That's it.
Trying to make your dome not shiny, DB. That's what we're trying to do
Let's
here.
see what we're rolling with here.
Yeah.
Time.
They make
Nope.
those. And how do you not
Nope.
like cocoa butter?
It stinks. First of all, I hate chocolate. And I'm not paying $40. Nope. 41, 34. Nah. I'm gonna go with the white stuff. I'm out.
Okay, but
That is the color I'm looking for, though. That's pretty good.
The cocoa butter you can also get it made by like Vaseline brand. Doesn't have to be $41.
Okay, but I have a question. So here's the downside of why I'm particular about lotion. Can I still open door handles? Because there have been times I've had to unroll my sleeves and put them over my hands to twist the doorknob.
Like it's too greasy?
Yeah.
Well, you should just do that anyway because people are filthy.
Wow. I haven't heard that since Home Alone.
You filthy animal.
No, seriously.
Who says filthy?
You know what is on door handle? Oh, yeah.
Who
you don't
still
wanna know what's on
uses
door
the
handle.
term filthy?
That's right. We're not on radio. I can use it. Damn.
Oh, Lord. Yeah, you're right. I forgot who we're dealing with. Yeah.
I'm not in my Matt Vrzal vernacular right now.
Yeah. He's been on one all week, too, so I have to be careful with him.
Oh, I can't wait to listen to that then. That'll be fun.
Apparently, we have some. What is it? Apparently, we have some translucent powder in our own home.
Yeah. Who just texted you?
That would be Jay.
Who told you that? Oh, yeah. So, she'll tell you.
Translucent. Really?
Yeah, that means it doesn't really show up.
Oh, gosh. See? Okay, Ravi. I understand. I was just processing real time.
So translucent.
Oh, here we go.
Translucent.
Enjoy it. Hey, speaking of see-through, how about the minutes for your boy? Let's do that. Get the attention off of me.
That's where I wanted to have our come to Jesus meeting, Kim, because our boy,
what in the world?
Our sweet baby boy Mason Miller, I think he needs to stop playing basketball.
Wait, you're what?
We love Mason Miller.
You know what? I think he did stop playing basketball, Ravi.
Yes,
he did stop playing basketball.
The problem is nobody told Coach Mack.
Well, here's the thing, though. You know, Coach Mack is loyal. You know, that's one of his faults, negatives, whatever you want to call it. But I mean, it's really not a negative.
Some people call it loyal.
And I'm loyal too.
I call it stubborn.
Yeah, but you know, there was that whole Mason Miller connection where I think he also is loyal to the family.
Yeah, we call that nepotism.
Yeah, I know. Do you think he needs to stop overall, or do you just need to sit him down and have a psych eval with?
I think you're too far in the season to overcome his emotions. I think when you play him, you just have to free him up to play through it.
Yeah, and I don't know that's the time for that right now.
Oh, relax.
Well, no, not right now. Not right now.
I think we're too deep in the year to fix it.
But I still think that there's some other players there too that we need to have some meetings with, because they're these showing up every third, fourth game is not going to get us anywhere.
Shoot, try being a Nebraska fan.
Although I'm telling you, I'm on the Jason Green kick, man. That dude, no matter what.
Yep.
You know why?
You
know why, Kim? You know why?
Why?
Miller North.
Miller North.
Miller North.
Oh
guy.
my gosh! I walked right into that door, didn't I?
Kim, I'm gonna do some more homework.
Okay, do some more homework, and then we can have another cosmetics, thing on radio.
I got matte
radio.
and translucent and all sorts of things I need to familiarize
Look
myself
at you!
with.
So building your vocabulary. Hey,
Yep.
throw those words at Vrzal and see what happens.
Yeah, this dude will have a heyday. He's been on me all week. He may be relentless today. I don't know. We'll see.
Kim, we appreciate talking to you as always.
Have a great weekend.
Thanks.
You too.
I may have to butter him up.
Gotta A little cocoa butter him up?
He's just kind of been on a little bit of a tear.
A little cranky this week?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll see how it goes.
But it's hard to tell if it's just like sometimes it's just what he feels like being.
Yeah.
There's nothing. There's
Feels
no real
like being snarky.
No real catalyst.
Well, we'll talk to Verghese at 9:45 as we always do. We'll talk to Mike Sautter at 9. I believe he's up at Sioux Falls covering Summit League basketball.
Yeah, so he jumped over to the Summit League after being in Lincoln.
Yep. And then we will talk to our guy Tim Verghese coming up at 8 o'clock. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. It's Hurrdat Sports Live.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live.
Welcome back, Hurrdat Sports Live. We're here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill, and as always, I'm reminding you, it's rush hour. We're going to have some precipitation here pretty soon. Make sure you keep those eyes focused and straight ahead while you're driving. You've got one job as a driver, that is to drive. This message from the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I've got some heads up here.
Mm-hmm. We got good old Frank Solich.
Yep.
College Football Hall of Famer.
Yes.
And Mike Tomlin.
All around goatee.
Goat, really?
I'm speaking more to Coach Solich on a personal level.
I thought you meant Tomlin. When I was like, Tomlin's not the. You like Tomlin a lot, but he's not the goat. Come
I will do this thing with my facial expressions today that is not a reflection of you. I have this pain that's on the top of my head, so sometimes I'll do that to readjust. It's not because I think you said something stupid. Although it's 50-50.
I was going to say, it's going to be real hard to tell the difference, if we're being honest.
I want you to...
What does Solich and Tomlin have in common?
Yeah, what do their careers, in your opinion, have in common?
Underappreciated?
That'd not be it, but I will subscribe to that.
That might not be your answer, but I think it's true.
Yeah.
You do have an enormous affinity for both.
Correct.
Let's see. What else do Solich and Mike Tomlin have in common?
Take a look at the
following a legend. Cowher, not as much, I guess, but sort of.
What are their careers kind of defined by?
Ooh. I don't know that I would put that in common with them.
They win a lot.
Won a ton, yeah.
Nothing of real significance, according to some
fan bases and whatever.
But why? How'd they get there?
Promoted from within.
Their careers are defined by not really having the right quarterback.
Oh.
But when they did,
sure,
their trajectory was much different.
Sure.
I.e. Roethlisberger and Crouch.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not sure I would have got there.
Deep.
Yeah.
Are you a philosopher?
I do think deeply.
Yeah. That's
a pretty good one.
That's my two friends today. They won a lot.
I also think it's
just couldn't quite, if they get the quarterback right,
yeah,
we'd look at them a lot differently.
It's also, I have a very hard time criticizing either of those guys for that specific thing, because if you look across basically all of football ever,
yeah,
if you don't get the quarterback right, pretty hard to win football games.
Yeah. And they won a lot. I won't say in spite of.
No, but they did.
Yeah.
I mean, despite some of the quarterback struggles.
I mean, tail end Ben and getting them to 500 was.
And then what we've seen the last few years,
was pretty good.
Not great.
My man was winning with Duck Hodges.
There was a sweet Dennis Dixon moment that I really enjoyed. I liked him at Oregon a lot.
I know, which is weird.
I don't know why. I liked him.
I don't understand.
You weren't a Dennis Dixon guy?
Uh-uh.
Oh, hater.
Kinda.
I think he's better than you're giving him credit for.
Yeah, you want a dirty little secret?
Yeah,
I'll admit it. I had a disdain for a long time. I don't know when I got over it.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of more my own thing growing up, and I think it was because we were such good family friends with like Briscoe and Sayers and some of these historical athletic figures in Omaha. I never really gravitated to black quarterbacks that didn't throw the ball first. So I didn't really start to get over it. I would say until like the last 10 years.
Do you remember who it was?
Probably just more maturity, not anybody in particular.
Okay.
Because I had this connection, which is why I'm not afraid to go there, right? I can't remember. Were we talking to Risden the other day? And I was like, well, there is this stigma, right? It's why Milroe doesn't want to run, and it still exists.
For sure.
It still exists. So, because sometimes we fight it because you want to be recognized on some other merit.
Well, and it exists kind of on both sides, right? Because like a lot of people assumed like, oh, JT Barrett, mobile quarterback.
Yeah.
Or Dwayne Haskins.
Why doesn't CJ Stroud run more?
Why doesn't he take off and run?
Yeah. So for me, I never really.
I get that. There's a trauma element there probably. Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
I still won't really love Lamar Jackson until he throws his way to victory.
So,
but I'm not gonna. I
agree.
I don't lack it. I don't lack of appreciating his skill set.
I agree with you there. But this is a weird comparison because they're not even close in terms of talent level and success. But I sort of felt the same way about like a Johnny Manziel, where I didn't trust him to be able just to make the throws that he needed to make. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know, like with Lamar Jackson, I'm like, in the playoffs, I don't know if I trust you just to make the throws you have to make. I kind of feel the same way about Caleb Williams. We don't know yet. But so I get what you're saying with Lamar. For
Well,
sure.
how about kind of like what I talked about with Coach Rule and his staff, like having the pieces that he wants now and kind of leaving no room for. He's answered all the questions that I think they need in order to get over the hump. Now it's on them.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I feel about Caleb Williams in Chicago.
Yeah.
Even though it's just year 2 for him.
They helped him out.
Yeah.
They're bolstering the offensive line.
What does bolster mean?
Can we say improved? They've improved the offensive line.
Yeah.
What does bolstered mean?
He's got all the weapons in the world.
I don't know, Prime.
I think you're right. I think there's going to be a little bit of heat on Caleb Williams to get that thing rolling.
I read an article yesterday. Maybe 2. Yeah, maybe 2. The Geno Smith thing becoming available is quite real.
Is it a real thing?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know if that was something you were just trying to speak into existence or not, because I really hadn't heard it before.
So I hadn't really dialed into a Steelers connection, but I do think he could become available.
I mean, it would make sense the way they're operating.
And right, with no Lockett and all of a sudden Metcalf, because usually if your boy leaves and you could get some more targets,
you'd be cool.
You might be cool with that.
But it seems like
because it would be you and a Buckeye, right? You guys could do work, but
seems like you're sort of shifting in Seattle their priorities and time frame. Honestly, same thing. It seems like they're doing in San Francisco because they traded Debo. They're talking about trading Ayuk. It seems like they are shifting timelines in real time. Now, I think part of that for San Francisco is because they want to sign Purdy and kind of reset their timeline with a young quarterback. But with Seattle, I think they might just be a hard reset. I don't know what they're doing.
But they don't have to because they're young.
Sure, yeah.
And Smith's numbers aren't so replaced. Somebody said yesterday, it was at the tail end, so I couldn't get back to it. But I think they were a Steelers fan. And like, hey, can we set the bar higher? And I get it, but I have to be realistic too.
About what's out there and what you can get.
Because the difference between settling and being realistic is I have to know what my other options are.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So if I can get the best of what's available
Yeah.
and I can make it work, sure. May I like more? Okay. But that doesn't make me settling. I'm trying to maximize within the parameters that I have to work.
Yeah, settling is really only if you have better things available.
Settling would be sticking with either Fields or Wilson and not exploring any other options.
Sure, yeah. No, that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not enamored with Geno, but you're probably right. He is better than either of those two guys. I do wonder, I don't know if it was a Jacksonville thing that killed it or like if Trevor Lawrence was actually available. Because if he was, that's a thing that the Steelers should go hard at.
On the stuff that I follow, like Khan is exploring all options.
Yeah, they should. And I don't think they're.
And the Steelers have been aggressive. I mean, more aggressive in free agency in the last 2 years than.
And I don't think Jacksonville's in love with paying Trevor what they had to.
Yeah.
Because the rest of the team's not ready.
And your boy is Duval. He's inheriting that saddle. Saddled is. Saddled is kind of strong, but he is inheriting
somebody else's guy
with a huge price tag.
Yeah.
Sometimes coaches don't love that.
Duval.
Knock it
Yeah,
off.
you don't want to be tied to a guy that you didn't pick.
Yeah.
Right? That's a lot of coaches.
Was that you?
Yeah, I crack myself up sometimes.
Did you just have that in the queue?
Duval.
And I was getting ready to clown. I was like, this dude.
Tony says, as a Seahawks fan, please take Geno. I'm ready for not paying him and drafting a rookie in 2026 to build around.
So that 2026 class doesn't look
that much better than this one.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, but I get it.
You would have to have some guys emerge.
And they're young, too. So if I didn't know TG was a Seahawks fan, but that roster is young.
Yeah.
And I told you yesterday, well, this is off here. Like, McDonald's a good coach.
No, I agree. Yeah, I agree.
McDonald's a good coach. So,
it is just tough, though.
Which is funny, too, because I just talked to like, Seattle's interesting.
Yeah. It's weird when you've got a coach you like, you've got a competitive roster, but you still feel like you have to reset.
Yeah.
Who
are you describing?
Like half the league?
Yeah.
I mean, really.
The Steelers.
Like, you're talking about the Steelers, you're talking about the Seahawks, you're talking about the 49ers, you're talking about a lot of pretty good teams. I mean, the Rams are sort of doing it right now.
How'd you like to be Dallas?
I mean, they're not even good, and they're kind of having to do it.
So when I got into the ages of those teams with quarterbacks in place, like the top 13, 14, I mean, if I'm a Chiefs fan, I mean, how good do you have it?
You feel fine. You feel just fine.
I'm young,
Still
and I got a
and you got
franchise
Mahomes,
QB
who's going to continue to restructure his deal however you need him to.
Yeah.
I mean, really.
Just got to spend the cash, right?
Yeah.
Put it in escrow. You can minimize your cap hit.
Yep.
You are going to have to do it again. Do you know if untouched, he's a $72 million guy next year?
Yep. That's certainly not going to be what the cap hit is, though.
I mean, it's
a lot.
It's a lot.
But if anybody deserves it, like if anybody deserves to get that level of money, it's him.
I'm surprised. I don't know, TG. You may want to look at that draft.
Yeah, I don't know. So here's the hard thing is, and I get this as an outlier, but going into like Burrow's draft, nobody thought Burrow was going to be number one pick, right? Like that wasn't a thing before the year. So there's always the chance that somebody emerges in a way that we don't really anticipate. I do understand that's a pretty large outlier, but I don't know if I know you're not a huge Arch Manning guy, but if somebody in that ilk of like, oh, it's his first time as a starter, whatever, not saying it's necessarily going to be Arch Manning, but somebody of that realm where they just emerge and you're like, oh man, this guy's actually really good. We probably like if Louisville for whatever reason had a much better year and everybody likes Tyler Shough, right? Like everybody likes his tools, they like his size. If he had this huge breakout year, we're probably talking about him way differently.
Who just called him the best ready-made quarterback in the draft? Was it McShay?
I think so.
I think it was McShay.
Yeah, on his new pod.
Yeah, I think it was McShay.
And I was talking.
I know Seviere likes him too.
Yeah, I was talking with Severe. I texted him because I didn't get a chance to ask him when we were talking to him about some of the other like down the line quarterbacks he liked, and that was the first one he mentioned was Tyler Shough.
And I get the injury history, but I mean
that's what McShay said too. It's like breaks. It's not.
Yeah, they're bone breaks.
Yeah, they're not like tissue or repetitive injuries that you're going to be worried about.
Yeah.
Like bone breaks are typically pretty fluky.
Yeah.
Unless you've got some like degenerative disease nobody knows about, but that doesn't appear to be the case.
I remember it's funny too, because with the one guy in our household as he was coming along through his high school career, somebody referred to him as injury prone. Mm-hmm. I'm like, this guy went, I don't know how many years playing the way he did without anything.
Yeah.
And then he had the fracture in the back.
And then the collarbone.
Put the pin in his thumb.
Yeah.
And he broke his collarbone. I'm like, those are breaks.
Yeah.
It's not,
not all
structural.
Not all injuries are created equal.
Yeah.
Is the point.
So
not everybody's got Joel Embiid's knees,
Or, I'm still, this whole Abdul Carter foot thing is fascinating.
It bothers me a little bit.
It
bothers me a little. When you start messing around with feet of explosive athletes, I get nervous.
Yeah.
I just do.
This draft, it just doesn't seem like it's very good.
I don't either. I don't think so.
And I don't know what's down the pipe next year.
Yeah, I haven't gotten into it as much, but it's gonna be really interesting to see because like data would tell you historically, this isn't just gonna be a draft where nobody's good, but it's probably gonna be some down the rounds guys that no one really thought of, where they're like, oh, this guy had a really nice 1 year, but he was, didn't meet some of the measurables, or like there's
and like to Tony's point, he said nobody thought Russ or Purdy was going to work either.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and there's something I do want to get to with Purdy, not really about him, but the way that sometimes guys in the room, even guys in the room, don't understand what they have.
Yeah.
And
hold that thought.
That's, I think, more interesting than people give it credit for sometimes.
Are we going physical or mental?
Both, I think.
All right. I'm listening.
Both.
Because it might be what I think the key is for this team that we have down in Lincoln, too, if I think you're going where you're going.
Might be. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. Hurrdat Sports Live. More coming up next.
We will be back. will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live.
We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Live. That's DB. I'm Ravi. Lulla here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. Reminding you, get over to supernovas.com to buy tickets to their upcoming match. Just a couple weeks from this weekend, they'll be back at CHI Omaha. Never too early, though, to get your tickets at supernovas.com. DB, we were talking about.
Right.
We're talking. I mean, the good ones go pretty fast.
No, I know. Believe you me.
We were talking about kind of the perception of guys in a room and how you don't always even know what you have. And it was brought up by one of our, was it Tony here in the chat, talking about Russ versus Purdy. And when they're drafted, right, neither one of those guys are expected to be the starter. I think they like them to a certain degree. Otherwise, they don't draft them at all. Russ probably more so than Purdy at the time. But you see that, and I'll give Pete Carroll credit because Russ started basically right away, right? They liked him in the preseason. They saw where it was going. He starts basically right away. But people tend to forget Kyle Shanahan, who knows a thing or two about quarterbacks and offense. Not only was Brock Purdy not the starting quarterback, not only was Brock Purdy not the second-string quarterback, he was third string behind Trey Lance, who doesn't appear that he's ever going to have a meaningful NFL career, and Jimmy Garoppolo, who anybody can have, and they're like, okay, he's a backup. That's fine. And so the reason I bring this up is there's a lot of situations where you've got guys in the room that might be better than the guys playing on the field. And it's really hard to get that point across when you don't actually get to see it, but you sort of have a sense of what else is in the room, right? And you were talking about what's at Nebraska. And sometimes you get pushback from other fans. They're like, well, don't you think if this guy was actually better, he'd be playing? It's like, well, not always. That doesn't always work that way, because whether it's, and I think this is what you were getting at, whether it's a physical or mental, sometimes the way people process the game in real time makes a dramatic difference into what you see on the field, right? That's the big thing with Purdy. He apparently just processes the game at this incredible level. And physically, you don't look at Purdy and see anything special, but until you get him out there and you're like, oh man, this guy really processes and chews up the game really well, then all of a sudden he becomes this guy, right? I think you have the same thing, and maybe I think this was my big issue with some of the guys that were playing in the defensive secondary last year. And I don't know if that's where you thought I was going or not, but I know Tim has said, and we're going to talk to Tim Verghese here in a few minutes. I know Tim has said he wishes there was maybe some more athleticism on the back end last year. And I don't know if it's that, or I think there was pretty good measurables on the back end with certain guys. I don't know how fast they were processing the game, and that can make you look like a bad athlete. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of where I was getting at.
I would completely agree. I thought you were going to stay in the quarterback room.
Oh, sure.
With kind of can what make guys that special or really, really good that you don't necessarily see in how they physically.
Sure. 100%. Yeah, sure.
Right? Because that's where you get into the intent of a Brady or even a Mahomes.
Brady, another guy that was in the room and didn't start.
Purdy or Russ. But it's a. I don't want to be disingenuous either, because I understand full well that I think. Now, this was last year's data, but take a stab on what percentage of the starting quarterbacks, within 1% or 2%, were drafted in the first round that start in the NFL.
Okay. I've sort of gone through this exercise of what they were as recruits. I would guess it's lower than I think. I want to say, I'll say 60%.
Yeah, it's about 68%.
Yeah.
Which, 2/3, does that seem high or low to you?
It seems lower than what I would expect if I hadn't looked at it before and understood where a lot of these guys came from.
The crazy thing is this data is through like 2023. Relative to other positions, it's staggering.
High?
Yes.
Sure. But part of that is also
the concentration?
Yes.
Right.
Right.
Excuse the number.
And the fact that there's so much emphasis put on finding a quarterback, and there's this narrative that you have to find one in the first round. I mean, the way we talk about first-round quarterbacks versus second- and third-round quarterbacks is dramatically different, right? Whereas I think there's an understanding. There's some position groups most people won't even look at in the first round, despite being starter quality.
Because there's just a lot of misnomers, right? I just took the deep dive, and I was looking at like running backs and stuff, and looking at these charts that a guy that I follow compiled, and running backs drafted from 2007 to 2011, 98. From 2012 to 2016, do you think the number was higher or lower?
Lower.
It's higher.
Really?
100. From 2017 to 2021.
I would guess lower again.
It's higher. 108. So I say all that to say, when you're, and I didn't even get through the other positions, but when you're drafting, history says, the narrative says, we can't get our quarterback
after the first round.
But
you can get other guys.
But you're willing to do it with almost any other position.
I mean, how often do you say, "Oh, we can get a running back later. We can get a wide out later. We can get a guard later."
But I do get the numbers thing, right? You need 5 offensive linemen. You need 1, and you can't take all 5 offensive linemen in the first round.
Yeah.
But it makes this a year like this draft interesting because of so many second to fourth round good offensive linemen that don't necessarily have to spell doom and gloom.
Coming up next, we're going to talk to our guy Tim Verghese inside Nebraska here on Hurrdat Sports Live.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Live.
Welcome back, Hurrdat Sports Live, presented by Centris Federal Credit Union. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We are joined now by Tim Verghese from inside Nebraska. Tim, what's going on, bud?
Hey, not too much. How about you guys?
TV, welcome back, man. We I don't know what did we invent last Friday during the 8 o'clock hour?
I'm sure it was nonsense, though.
I think it was staff person. What was it? Team building? It was something. Tim, in your honor, it was something to revolve around what we normally talk to you about. But so I think we just pretended to be getting good answers because none of them were coming from either one of us. People that were listening would probably just call it spitballing. But anyway, I say all that to say welcome back.
Yeah, thank you.
Did you catch up on all your coaching interviews?
Yeah, I have.
Okay, so how are we feeling, right? We've got all 6 now we've talked to, we've heard from, a week or so apart. Based on what you've heard and how you see this thing being built pre them talking, what's the same in your head and what's a little different after hearing them talk?
Yeah, I mean, like Eckler is exactly who I expected, like the energy and all of that, and what you're getting in him. You just kind of assume. I think for some, and then for me specifically, like it's like okay, kind of getting an idea what the plan is in special teams, and I like where he's at in terms of something that stuck out to me, that's continued to stick out for me. Is when he's explaining how to get buy-in on special teams and the way it's like, hey, this is all translatable skills. That shows a mastery of what you're coaching. Like to be able to sell that to guys and be able to be like, hey, freshman wide receiver, you need to be on special teams because this is going to help you 2-3 years from now in your route running. This is going to help you accel, decel. You know what I mean? It's going to help you do certain things. And so that sticks out for me. But I fully expected that talking to him. Terry Braden kind of like had an indication of who he is, kind of just exchanging some messages with him, but getting a feel for like, okay, hey, this is a guy that understands the game. Like, again, like truly just like is a student of the game, understands the game, wants to help guys develop at this game. And it makes sense, like you listen to him and his thought process as to why it made sense to come down to the college game. It makes sense where he's at right now, what Nebraska's really looking for from a D-line coach as well. I mean, I would say like something that's new, I guess, for me and something that, just like listening to some of the new assistants that kind of talk. I think I continue to be really impressed by Tequila Shorts and just his understanding of the game and what he wants to accomplish in the game. You get a feel this is the guy that might end up being like a career wide receivers coach, when he first got here. But listening to him talk, like he clearly has, goals beyond this. And he's, they talk about a rising star. Like I'm excited to see what the him and Holgerson pairing for another few years looks like.
TV, I got to – oh, sorry, go ahead.
So, Tim, let me – so generally speaking, we have this thing and, maybe I hear what I want to hear. But if I had a reoccurring theme that I think from all 6 guys that I think is a little contrary to how we thought that they were putting the roster together, I still hear a lot about development and teaching and bringing along young guys. Did you get that sense? And if so, did it surprise you based on how we kind of fast forwarded to, they don't really have time to be a developmental program?
Not really, just in the sense that that's still going to be the bread and butter of a Matt Rule program. At the front, they can like whatever's happening at the top end of the roster doesn't change what's happening with the rest of it. And so they've had the Excel button on in terms of we're going to add veteran wide receivers, we're going to add veteran DBs, we're adding veterans, we're going to push the Excel button on our timeline and our development, but that doesn't change the fact that we've got a ton of young guys, guys that are the first, second year in the program. That need development and, that we're still hoping, are going to be these type of guys. And so again, I think the bread and butter of this program remains development. You look at, across what they're doing in terms of recruiting, in terms of talent acquisition, in terms of, what are they looking for cycle to cycle? There's always going to be a Jeremiah Jones type. There's always going to be a big athlete that can play multiple positions. They're always going to go after athletic DBs. They're always going to have these guys that they can develop and work on. And so that's kind of like, I think that's the identity of this program, is a developmental program with some top end elite talent. That ideally you want them to be developed into top end elite talent. But at this point, like we said, they're kind of acquiring through the transfer portal out of the high school rankings, somewhat developed. But I don't think it changes the bread and butter of what this program wants to be and is going to continue to be.
Tim, so I've been asking myself this question a lot. It was brought up by a listener probably a couple months ago at this point now. But I keep thinking about it. And, when we talk about development and we talk about kind of how Matt Rule wants to do things, it comes back up in my mind. And that's, what do you think Nebraska's advantage can be long-term over the rest of college football? You go back to the 70s and 80s and it's the weight program, and you get into like the 90s, it's the training table and the way they used Prop 48 and some of these other things, right? And then everybody else, and then for a while it was the facilities, and then everybody else kind of either caught up or the rules changed, and it was, it seemed like it was going to be NIL, but people caught up to that in a hurry. Like, what is there a thing that you look at and think, oh, this is a thing Nebraska can be better at than everybody else, and a place that they can take advantage of and have as their edge?
It kind of feels like it's a combination right now of, okay, we're the best of facilities, we're the best of NIL, and we're the best of development. Like, that's the ideal. Like, I think that's what they're selling right now is some places have the NIL, but not necessarily the facilities. Nebraska has both. Some places have the development, but not the facilities or the NIL. Nebraska has that as well. So the ideal goal is I think for all three to be that. But I don't know. I mean, like, I think there's something to, you look across this coaching staff and what they've done, and compared to what it was when Rule first got here, I feel like development sells itself a lot more now than it did a few years ago. Every single one of these coaches has done it in their past. Every single one of these coaches is experienced and has, like a position or two they can point to and say, like, hey, I've developed this guy. Like, I mean, even down to like Eckler could say, hey, the last 5 guys have had a punt returner went to the NFL. Like, that's something most, special teams coaches can't say. Da'Keil Shorts can say, hey, Tank Dell, that's me. Matthew Golden, that's me. Sam Brown, that's me. Hardly Gilmore and Dane Key and Barry and Brown, that's also him as well. So, you've got all of these assistants across the board. Addison Williams has 2 DBs that are going to be in this draft. So all of these guys, compared to what it was when Rule first got here, when he had Dvorak and Evan Cooper and these guys that are young and like, hey, these are young guys that can develop and young guys that are good rising coaches. They didn't have the resume that the coaching staff across the board does now, where they can go on the road and say, hey, I'm Terry Bradden. Here's what I did over the last 8 years. I coached the Kansas City Chiefs. The team you've been watching in the Super Bowl the last, half decade. I've been coaching that defensive line.
Who had 2 other legitimate NFL offers.
Yeah, exactly.
Their D-line. That he didn't even tell Nebraska about until after. The NFL told Nebraska about it. I mean, he didn't even use it for leverage. Like, you can tell this guy wanted to be in college.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you something, TV, because this may have changed. So now that you know that the staff is all put together, you've heard them talk, you kind of see the vision. I asked you 2.5 months ago, who would you use as the poster child if Nebraska wanted to sell development? I asked if you could make the case, could it be a guy like Dylan Raiola? Has your answer changed? And if it has or hasn't, is who you would use and who they should use a different player?
I can't get over like just Dylan, because like what that would mean for the program long term. Like in terms of like, hey, we like unlocking the best out of Dylan Raiola for the immediate and the foreseeable future is a big, like, that goes beyond like obviously what the on-field success would mean if you were able to get that next level out of Dylan, but that goes beyond that. It goes into 27 recruiting with Trey Taylor, the number 4 quarterback in the country. That goes into 28 recruiting where Nebraska's in it with some top QBs. But I think that another name that comes to mind now, only because of the guy leading his room and because of his personality, what if it's Shakori Barney? What if Barney takes
someone
another
that
step?
no one has said? So I'm listening. Lay it out for me.
And he's already, we already know what he is, but he takes that next step, and yeah, he takes that like Tank Dell-esque step over these next 2 years. And it's it's not hard to see that considering who's kind of leading that room. But you combine that with his personality and what that would mean in terms of branding the program and selling the program on the recruiting trail. I mean, Ja'Cory Barney is the type of guy that if you get that guy out there in front of cameras on a consistent basis and he's performing at an elite level on a consistent basis, I mean, like South Florida recruiting is just going to keep it's going to flow. Like that's a guy that like what he says and what he does that goes a long way in South Florida.
So can I make?
Has yours changed? Okay, go ahead.
I'm going to make the argument again for my guy.
Oh, it stayed the same?
Yeah.
Okay, go.
I still think I'm sitting on Keona Davis because there's a couple. When I think development, I think of you want a guy that's kind of like Dylan is almost too touted for me because I don't know if you get credit for developing him or if he was supposed to be this guy.
Can I say something real
That's
quick?
fair.
But to Tim's point, I think the on the field and the off the field is actually two different discussions. The first part is what you're saying. Well, he was supposed to be good.
Yeah.
But if he actually is, we can't discount all these Elite 11 guys and these quarterbacks that change addresses and get in the transfer portal, and a lot don't develop, where he still could be a guy where it's like, all right, like look what we can do here. So I almost think they're two different things, but I don't want to kill your argument.
And I get it. I do understand that. To me, and I'm probably splitting hairs here, I look at Dylan Raiola as a success story differently than I do as a developmental success story, just because he starts at a higher spot from his talent level and just what he was touted as. That's just how I process it. I still look at a guy like Keona Davis because I can't tell you how haunted I am by the fact that Nebraska was never able to use Ndamukong Suh as that tent post for, hey, look what we can do with defensive linemen, right? Look what we can do. We can take a guy that was already talented but didn't do much his first couple years and under a previous coaching staff, and now all of a sudden we turn this guy into a top 5 pick in the draft, a Heisman finalist, one of the best players in the country. Like that, to me, if you can get that pipeline flowing with defensive linemen, that is something I am very intrigued by. And it's probably a little PTSD from Sue, but if I can get that out of a Keona Davis or a Riley Van Poppel or pick one of those guys that we kind of like on the defensive line, I personally go with Keona Davis. That, to me, is something that I'm super interested in.
Yeah, I like that just because they even talking about that in general, like if you're able to build off of hey, we're going to have Ty Robinson go in the top 3-4 rounds. Like, that's Ty Robinson's going to be one of the first defensive linemen taken in this draft. Like that feels certain. Like talking to draft people this week, it feels like 4th round is now like the kind of the lowest where he's slipping. He could rise up into the 2nd round. You build off that with, okay, a year later, Riley Van Poppel, a year after that, Keona Davis and Williams and Renard. Like, yeah, if you could start to build a defensive line tradition and defensive line kind of sells itself at Nebraska, that's a big deal. That changes some things on the recruiting trail and what you're able to do in terms of building out the program.
So 2 things here. Let me get some clarity because I think you guys may have been saying something than my man Dan heard, but I just want to make sure. The comparison between Barney and Dell is what? Not talent-wise, obviously, I don't think. But what was the comparison there, just for clarity's sake?
For me, just like in terms of like, I think from a production level too. Like I think you can get to that point, Ja'Cory Barney. Maybe not this year because I think it's going to be Danke wide receiver 1, and he's going to be wide receiver 2, and they're kind of going to build the offense that way. But I think it's going to be hey, Ja'Cory takes another step this year, and then year 3. We're talking about a guy that, and again, I'm setting expectations very high because Tank Dell, across 2 seasons led college football in receiving yards, but it's not necessarily about that. I mean, there's some similar traits in how they play. There's some similar ability, but I think the long-term ability of Ja'Cory Barney, inside and out, has him. It's a different type of player, long-term ceiling-wise, but in terms of production and his role in a Dana Holgorsen offense, I think it's going to look very similar to what Tank Dell's.
Guys, I might change.
Okay.
I'm not ready to say this as my answer because I'm still leaning towards like a Shavers. If I got off of Dylan.
Yeah.
I'm still looking at like an explosive second level guy.
Yeah, I'll take Shavers all day.
A guy like that,
Mm-hmm.
right? Let me entertain for a second. What if it's a guy like Parker or Makai Nelson? What if it's a running back that came in the last year or two, a new guy that like can all of a sudden flourish? That would raise. It actually validate what I think about Coach Barthel. It would silence the critics that talk about recruiting, and it's a position in which I think secretly or not so secretly, Nebraska fans want to be elite. There's just this romanticizing of the running back spot at the university. Would you entertain it being a running back?
Yeah, and now you mentioned it too. I mean, what if it's not even a recruit? What if Emma Johnson runs for over 1,000 yards this year?
I mean, that would be a developmental story, right?
Yeah.
From where he came from?
Yeah.
Yeah, like what if it's just Emma Johnson this year and then you start that, Like what if it is just
even when he played, because this will be the knock. I'm glad you brought that up. Because this would be the convenient knock on Barthel. It would be like, well, why wasn't he playing him earlier? Like, why did it have to start to flourish when Holgorsen got here? And I've always maintained, people don't know how hard it is, right? For running backs to be in a rhythm and flourish and look a certain way, you have got to be in lockstep with your play calling and your scheme. It's not always just because I wonder, and I don't know, but I wonder if Barthel thought, well, if this is how we're going to run the ball, then I kind of got to go with this guy. But now that we're going to do it like this, maybe I can go with this guy. That would be the knock on Barthel because people say, well, he didn't want to play him. And like maybe he can't evaluate talent. Like there's this undertone that Dana like forced his hand or something on who to play. And I don't think that's it. So if Emmett gets even better, because we never loved their ceiling. Nobody can sit here and say, well, yeah, man, like I saw that coming out of these guys because we did. We've been hating on these guys. Well, they're good. They're just not this, or it works, but it's just not this. If that were to happen, Tim, and it's not a recruit and it is a guy that was already in the fold, it might have equal value. It may have equal than or greater value. I would entertain that based on your supposition.
Yeah, because I mean, again, because the argument goes both ways. You land at like a Keanu Davis type, you can also dismiss that as they just identified the talent and but they knew what they were getting. But when it's like an Emma Johnson, someone they inherited, you can also make the flip side argument of, okay, well that guy was kind of like third string running back when the staff got here, and now he's like again hypothetically if he runs for 1,000 yards this year, does that Like I think that's possible, and again, like I do think it's a little unfair to Barthel, like the critique he's had on Emmett, because I mean you guys saw, I mean obviously he's had limited reps, but the Emma Johnson we saw at the end of the year was not the Emma Johnson that started the season. Like that's a guy that developed, and I think he deserves the credit for the development that Emma Johnson did. Like that happened under someone's watch, right? Like,
yeah.
Nah, just blind squirrels getting nuts, man.
On its own.
Just kind of fell into it. Happened on someone's watch, didn't it? Yeah, I agree. But I'm telling you, you hear it, man. You run a board. It's even with his development, and it happened on someone's watch. Who gets the credit? Holgorsen does because of the timing, and how it seemed that they narrowed the playbook with the run game. They don't give it to EJ. It's people. Oh man, Coach Holgorsen, man, it changed. And I keep telling people, like they both things have to be true for it to happen. To see what we saw.
Right, absolutely. And again, EJ Barthel is still on staff. Like had a contract, like his contract was up, and he's still on staff. Got extended, and was after. Like other schools were after him. Like we know this. Penn State was after him. Texas was after him. Two schools with a very good running back tradition can recognize this guy like knows something, and Nebraska fans are like, yeah, I don't know.
And two schools that were in the college football playoff this year, by the way. Like,
right.
Let's not overlook that part.
with coming off again, both of them had very good running backs coach. Considered two of the best running backs coaches in the game.
Yeah, that's the running backs are interesting.
Yeah, I would not. I just
now
I was only spurred off that based on. I kind of like the way you laid out the argument about current versus future and table setting. Right, that changed that.
Sure,
it changed kind of the scope on how I was looking at it, but I still think I may take a second level rush guy. I like D-line, but remember, I'm the guy that started with Dylan and didn't want to move off of it. I still think that's the best answer.
Probably.
But if I was gonna entertain something else, I think I would go second level, then D-line. Although now I could convince myself.
Running back?
Nope. An O-line prospect too, because Donovan's already a pretty good recruiter.
I think he's already a pretty good developer.
Yeah.
I mean, what we've seen over the last few years, Tim.
And those guys are so highly coveted, right? The Cantwell, they just haven't been landing those guys, but they're always in the hunt.
Right. Yeah, I think. I mean, honestly, I do think Raiola needs like a true success story just for his own, development, something to have in his back pocket when he's on the trail. I mean, it's something that has not helped. Like, it's affected Nebraska on the trail. Like, I think I can objectively say that right now. Some of these misses have been, hey, when was the last time Nebraska put an offensive lineman in the league? Like, beside, Juergens was a guy, but Juergens is such a unique story. They almost don't credit Nebraska for Juergens, and so. That's the other part of this. That's the other part of this is when you get like an elite athlete like that, and a guy that, like a Juergens that didn't necessarily have the most successful career at Nebraska, but is having success in the league, you often don't get credit for that. Like, okay, if Isaiah Nayer goes to the league and finds a role and settles into something, Nebraska isn't really going to get credit for that.
No. I've already heard it now with what he did at the combines. They just poo-poo it because he wasn't better for Nebraska.
They may not even get credit for Fedoni, honestly, even though he was there the whole time.
Yeah, I mean, like, Iowa doesn't get credit for Kittle. Like, I think that just they kind of do, but I think, it's just kind of just like a, hey, Iowa tight end. Like, that's what it's going to be if Fedoni does have success at the next level. It's Nebraska tight end, but it's not going to be like, oh, Nebraska did this.
There are too many Stoles, and there are too many of those other stories. I think we need a couple more of those with Fedoni, to be honest.
Right.
Yeah, I do. The offensive line is interesting because, especially with Juergens, I'm glad you brought him up because that's not a guy that was. Some of these guys are undrafted free agents and they latch on and end up having a career, but like he got drafted pretty high, right? Especially for a center. Like a second round center is a pretty aggressive draft pick. And like he had to obviously have done something at Nebraska to earn that level, kind of like Ty Robinson, right? Like he's going to be a pretty high draft pick, maybe as high as the second round. Like there has to be something behind that in the college career to get you there. It's not like, hey, it was a sixth rounder, we took a flyer on him, and so we did that in the development in the NFL. It's, hey, Nebraska got him drafted in the second round. It's weird that on that one specifically, and I agree with you, they don't really get credit for it. It's weird to me that they don't, though, considering all of the circumstances.
The weird thing with Juergens is it's weird. I feel like Nebraska fans, when they talk about Juergens, they talk about the first 2 years and not that last year. They don't talk about that last season and, what he looked like. And then you go back and you watch it. And again, we learned all of this in retrospect, but you go back and find out that Jason Kelsey was breaking down center film to find his replacement. And Juergens was the guy that checked every single box for him. And it's like, hey, maybe these guys know a little something.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. Tim, we appreciate the time as always.
Never disappoint, TV.
We appreciate you.
Going all over the place. We'll talk to you next week.
Yes, sir. Talk soon.
Thanks, Tim.
More Hurrdat Sports Live coming up next.
We will be back. will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live.
Welcome back, Hurrdat Sports Live here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. That's DB. I'm Ravi, Lulla, and we are hanging out with you on a Friday here. DB, that was a really interesting conversation with Tim there.
TK said, my summation from this conversation, Nebraska needs 2 more guys drafted this year than last year. At the end of the day, I think he's probably right.
Yeah, if you want to boil it down, that's probably right.
I think he's probably right.
Yeah. I wanted to say that's oversimplification, but I don't know that it is. That is, Tim brought up a good point with the offensive linemen specifically, but I think it's true across a lot of positions, right? It's been true for Nebraska with quarterbacks for a really long time, that it's sometimes hard to get high-level quarterbacks to come here because Nebraska doesn't have this history of them being drafted. And you look at the positions where Nebraska's had more success, and that's typically where it's easier to recruit guys. But EJ is a really interesting example for what we were talking about because he sort of fits that under-recruited mold, didn't have crazy offers coming out of high school, was highly productive, and then has sort of had to work his way through the depth chart a couple of times, right? And there's some people, I got to give TK credit here, who have been on the EJ train the whole time, just all about Emmett Johnson the entire time. And My only concern with him would be as he's not a huge guy. As a feature back, if we truly want him to be that sort of classic Nebraska 1,000-yard, 1,200-yard running back, whatever that looks like, I do worry about wear and tear with him.
Yeah.
Not that he's not tough, but he's not huge, and I just do wonder about the hits accumulating. But that would be a huge success story. My only caveat with it being a running back, I do think you could establish a really nice tradition of running backs, and I agree with you. It means a lot to the fan base.
I don't remember who brought it up. Maybe it was you. It was one of the guys that we were talking to. People do romanticize about, was it Bruntz last week? It was somebody, the running back position. I can't remember who it was. But
I think it was a couple weeks ago when we were talking about the Barthel thing, because we were going on about how people didn't think the room was that productive or that good. And I've been pretty publicly last year. I just said, I think they're fine. I just think it's a fine room. I don't think it's great. I don't know that I still don't know. I mean, Mekhi Nelson and Jamarion Parker pending, right? We don't know yet. But I still don't look at anybody in the group last year and be like, oh, that's a dude.
Yeah.
But
I know. It used to make me mad.
But if you have somebody that turns into that, I'm happy to be wrong, because that does make a huge difference for Nebraska.
And I told you that the two guys that I thought were different all along are the same two guys that could be the poster children. I told
You've always really liked Mekhi.
Yeah, I just seen it, right? I'm like, that guy moves different. Come down here and watch this. Or people don't want to hear this because they already don't like him, I think. Or it's not that they don't like him, they're just not going to be enamored. But I'm just telling you, and I don't expect people to be on board, because I get to see more, so I understand that. All right. So I'm not holding it against anybody. But Quentin Ives is significantly better. Was significantly better at bull practices than I had seen him almost at any point. He had his last month and a half, he just was what I would call seeing it better.
Sure. Like it had slowed down for him?
Like he was just seeing it better.
Yeah.
Now,
and that's a guy we've heard that they liked.
Now, sure. Am I listening to scheme and being on the same page with your OC and what this play takes, right? I'll use an example. One of our pet plays in Carolina was counter. And I was told several times, you can't bounce this play. If you bounce it, this is a free defender. It's designed to do this. So, and I'm like, fudge, this is really limiting my creativity. Like this is, and I like to be I'm an inside runner, right? I didn't get to do it enough from a rep standpoint where I could do it again. I knew what was happening against multiple fronts. Conversely, I watched a guy in Amana, and I had this conversation one time. We were sitting at he'd signed some stuff, and we were sitting at Phillips 66, a new one off of 84th. I'll never forget it. And I was talking about the difference between Seattle and Green Bay. And he's like, DB, we run the same 3 plays over and over and over again. You look at most of his runs in Green Bay, it's the same 3 plays.
Well, and that's a guy that you've talked about really liked having the reps.
And you know what he dumbed it down to? He'd say reps.
Yeah. Like he needed to see it.
I got reps. Which let me know, like, okay, this is kind of what I'm dealing with, where you can get like good backs can possess different qualities, right? Some guys are super creative and instinctual. That would be LP. Some guys are really rhythmic and like
kind of the structure
of it. That would be AG, right? So for every Roy Halou and let's say Amir, who is a very creative runner, because up front so many different things were happening.
And he had to be a lot of times.
That would be different than a Rex Burkhead. Right? So when I watch these backs run, I'm thinking you have to you have to have an offense that accentuates their strengths. If I'm a downhill slasher guy, I probably don't want to run a ton of pin and pull sometimes. Maybe I want a gap. Maybe I want zone. Right? Like Judkins and Travion Henderson are 2 different runners. They're vastly different. So you have to give some credit to the scheme, but to coach within that scheme as like a running backs guy, I'm telling you, it's underappreciated. But I'm not chastising because, again, most people don't get in the weeds, and you don't get to see it. But if we're
an opportunity to see
but
more.
if we're gonna romanticize about the position, there's multiple ways to get it done.
100%.
Right? Brandon Jackson was vastly different than Roy Halou. Right? Calvin was vastly different than Derek Brown. They ran different kinds of plays.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Right? One guy was an edge guy, edge space. The other guy is, counter trade, downhill, dive.
Which I think people sort of misremember because of the time period, right? That they assume everybody within that stretch of Nebraska offenses was running the same stuff, right? Because it looks the same to a lot of us, right? And so I think it's easy to be like, oh, well, Calvin and LP and Amon and DB.
Yeah, trust me, I wasn't running a lot of 11-19 rolls, right? But I was going to run a ton of 42, 48 counter traps. I was going to run a ton of 47, 43 dives. They're just some play 41, 49 outside, right? It was stretch. I like stretch, right? I'm not a lateral guy. Some guys,
you wanted to cut it up.
Yeah, some guys, that's their baby.
Yeah.
Right? So you just, it's the game within the game. But I think if you really want to critique it, you have to watch what's happening within the framework. You can't just broad brush that thing.
Sure. And that's why a guy like EJ can look dramatically different under different coaching staffs or under different play callers, right?
Right. Yeah. I think that's a lot of
it. I think that's a real thing, and that makes a lot of sense the way you kind of describe it. The other thing, you brought up, this is a random.
I still don't know if I'd pick a running back though.
So the reason I probably wouldn't, because I've been here, especially in the NFL, talking about how I think running backs need to be more emphasized, right? Like that's a thing I've been on for a while.
And I gave you the data that more running backs are being drafted than we actually think.
For sure. Now I think it might be later. Like I'd be interested to see the round breakdown over the 10 years.
And they have it. It's just bad radio.
Fair. But if you I would love to see that because that's super interesting to me. But I also think there's
the bulk of it is 2 through 4, in case you're wondering.
That makes sense. That would make sense to me. But I also think that there's a reason I maybe wouldn't pick running backs for Nebraska is on field. I do think it's a super high impact. But in terms of the off the field stuff, I don't know. Again, since it's a singular position, you're really only playing one guy there at a time, and it's not quarterback. Like, to me, a defensive line is going to be more impactful. Some of those second-level edge rusher guys are going to be a little bit more impactful. Offensive line would be more impactful. It's the same reason I wouldn't really take a wide receiver probably.
Yeah.
I know those guys can be highly impactful on the field, but in terms of, like, even though Nebraska hasn't had a ton
and there's more of them.
Yeah. You kind of get more bites at the apple, and it's the further away you get from the ball, I think it's a little easier to find guys. Like, it's easier to find wide receivers.
I would agree.
Than it is to find high-level offensive and defensive linemen. So that would be my only pushback on running back. On field, highly impactful. I don't know that it changes Nebraska's program. Nebraska fans would love it, right? Would love it. But I don't know, like, if you can consistently get a pipeline of defensive linemen in there, like, we're talking about a whole different thing.
I want to get to April 26th here in a second, but let me ask you one more question.
Yeah.
Why do you pick – I'm curious on your rationale on picking Keona Davis versus Van Poppel.
I just like him.
Okay. I thought it may be like repeatable body types. You're going to be able to find a
there's more.
Listen, I
know what you're saying.
He has a freaky frame. So
Yes.
I'm not saying that.
But there's more guys that are, what is he, like 6'4", 260?
There's more. Yeah, there's more.
Than there is
you're more apt to find a KD than you are a Van
Poppel.
Poppel.
Or a Ty Robinson.
Yeah.
Or yes.
Yeah.
So that's part of it. But honestly, it's just he's the guy that I look at as that I could see jumping off the page the most. I don't know, even if Riley Van Poppel's highly successful, I don't know how sexy it's going to look. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how much it's going to really enamor people, even if football people are like, oh my God, that guy's incredible. But a guy like Keona Davis, I think, has the potential to be splashy, not just really good, but also splashy. And I do think that matters. That's part of the reason the quarterback thing has me interested. Like, I'll hear the quarterback thing because that's going to be a sexy position to get Nebraska good at and get people's eyes on it, right? defensive.
And you could see right away, like if he's better, if he's just 15% better,
yeah,
that offense.
We're
is
talking about a whole other thing.
Significantly better. Yeah.
Whereas if you can get a defensive lineman that can get to 10, 11, 12 sacks, we're talking about something different all of a sudden now. To me, Keona Davis kind of positionally and what I think he's capable of is just going to look different than what Riley Van Poppel is. And so that enamors me a little bit. And honestly, I just like him. I just like Keona Davis. I think he was the one that was a thrower in high school, like a track and field thrower. Yep. I like that pop, kind of that explosive athletic pop that throwers have. Like, I'm just interested in him personally.
That's the snap power lifter in you.
Yes, it is. 100%. Just that instant power, that explosiveness, that's fascinates me with Keona Davis more so than it does with a Riley Van Poppel. Even though you could pick either one, and as a success story, I think it helps Nebraska in a similar way. But I think I think it being a little sexier on the edge helps him out.
Were you surprised to see Nebraska's new coaches rave about the talent in the DB room?
Not really.
Athleticism.
Maybe athleticism.
Okay.
Because I don't know that we look at that room as terribly athletic.
No.
I do look at that room as a really talented room.
It was close to being an indictment on Coop.
Oh,
I heard that.
The athleticism in the room?
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
I'm like, you guys are crazy.
So that's why I sort of brought them up.
Like,
it's
a different scheme. You got to give it time, but Coop knows talent.
That's part of the reason I brought the back end of some of the safeties up as the processing.
Yeah, that was actually, I was vibing. I just didn't want to.
Sure.
I didn't want to have that steal the.
Yeah.
But I thought it was a good point.
I think there's a lot of athleticism in that room. I think we don't always see it because the guys weren't processing things the way they needed to, which is a totally different thing than not being athletic enough in the first place, which is why it's going to be really, really interesting to see how Addison Williams does back there with John Butler as the DC. Couple of defensive back guys
that understand scheme,
current and former coordinators that understand the scheme. If they can get guys to process things a little bit quicker, that's part of the reason I wanted to see other guys back there last year. I just wanted to see if somebody processed quicker.
And I like Tim's distinguish between what Nebraska is doing at the top versus how it doesn't happen. It's not going to change for the back just because it's still development. Like a lot of these guys are going to be 2-year guys.
Yeah.
Where strength and conditioning,
it's going to matter.
It's going to matter. A year of doing something spot time, then you assume the role. I still think that's going to be the criteria. You just have to have enough guys that you bring in at the top to buy you time to stay on that schedule. And because I've seen it work I saw it work for 30 years.
Yeah.
You just have to have guys that buy into that kind of that
process, that
pecking order.
Well, we saw it with Van Poppel. He obviously bought into it, taking a red shirt after his freshman year, which is unusual. And, it's a guy that we just brought back because I think some people think it can't work like that anymore or today or in such an abbreviated time period. Go look at Levante David year 1 to year 2. That's a perfect example of a 2-year developmental guy who was okay his first year at Nebraska, was a monster after that, right? Like there's something there for sure, and it can happen in an abbreviated time frame. We will continue and get into what we know is going to happen on April 26th with the spring games, plural.
A lot of
Nebraska.
A lot of games.
A lot going on. It's a full day of events. We'll get into it next year on Hurrdat Sports Live.
We will be back. will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live.
We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Live. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill, and presented to you by Centris Federal Credit Union. Make sure you get over to centrisfcu.org to check out all they have to offer. Regardless of what your needs are in a financial institution, there's a good chance Centris has you covered. Go talk to one of their experts either in person or at centrisfcu.org and see how their services can fit your needs. Federally insured by NCUA. It's centrisfcu.org. DB?
Yep.
We got some information yesterday.
We got lots.
We got a little information about what's going on in the spring. April 26th.
Yeah, I got to figure out. Yes, we do. What were your initials?
It was
more or less than you thought.
A little more.
It's a lot more for me.
Yeah.
And I had a framework.
Yeah. So the volleyball is kind of the headliner here, right? The exhibition against Kansas to wrap up the day.
And that's not till 6:30, right?
So you want to know my initial thought?
Yeah.
That's
a long
ass day.
Yeah.
like if you're down there for the whole thing, that's a long day. Which it could be a lot of fun. I'm not poo-pooing it, but that was my initial thought is, oh man, you're gonna be in Lincoln for a long day. So that's gonna be interesting to see I'm interested to see if people like go to everything or if it's sort of a pick and choose.
Let me set the schedule real quick for our listeners,
Sure.
and then I want you to know. I want to know how you read something.
Okay.
So at the TO Legacy Complex, they got tours from 8 to noon. Okay, which is going to be pretty sweet.
Yep.
But cost $50. Fans will select their 1 hour time window when purchasing tickets. The tour includes locker room, weight room, recovery area, training table, the walkthrough, team meeting rooms, the ends of the tunnel walk experience, and to the field. Okay. At the same time, the Husker Food Truck Festival, which is they always do, because players can have their families down and stuff, and they always have food trucks. But that's from 8 to 2. Okay, East Stadium Plaza, local food truck vendors, whatever. Husker equipment sale.
So honestly, low-key, one of the things I'm most excited about.
Okay, so hold that thought. Free admission with purchase ticket to any Husker Games event.
Mm-hmm.
So the Games event, how did you read that?
So I read that as either the soccer exhibition, the football.
So you read games.
Yes.
Not the event.
Yes. That's how I
Okay.
read it.
Okay.
That if you bought a ticket to any of those things, you could go to the sale.
Okay. So free admission with purchase of ticket to any Husker game event. Clearance and discounted team merchandise, obviously additional surplus, marketing and promotional collectibles, additional details on inventory at a shared date. So you have a huge garage sale. Remember how we said, man, they'll do something for the fans. But I just wouldn't cross off that line item in the budget. They're not crossing off the line item.
No.
They may enhance it.
And I would say there are some things here that are going to be a little more pricey. They're optional, but like the tour's $50.
Yeah.
Which sounds like a really cool experience. So I think some people will pay for that. So it's not going to be all the same. It's not going to be probably the quantity of people, but I do think they're going to make up.
Well, how many spring game tickets is selling 3 helmets?
Well, sure, yeah. And I kind of like if there's a helmet for sale, I might buy one.
Right? Or shoulder pads or gear.
I do want a jersey. If I can find a jersey, I will buy a jersey.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that would add up in a hurry.
Sure.
You're talking about a garage sale.
Because if you spend $100, I know this is cheap, but say you spend $100 on a helmet.
Yeah.
That's what, 10, 20 tickets?
Yeah.
One helmet. And that's a low price. I mean, that'd be really cheap for a helmet.
Right.
Right? Like I would definitely
What if you sell $110 t-shirts?
Yeah. You're in pretty good shape there.
Okay. So obviously the Husker games, tickets, $10 for adults, $1 for youth, $20 for West Club.
For the football, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool with that?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I might splurge on the 20.
Parking is $15. Gates open at 12:30. 7-on-7 football. Skills contests and other competitions featuring 2025 Nebraska football team. Then there's 2 different teams. It
sounds kind of like the Pro Bowl games.
Yeah, so there's a Legends versus like Hall of Famers, and each team will have a captain. So that's that where they're participating in competitions and skills contests. Then there's the women's flag football game between Midland and the UNL All-Star Intramural team, which people will roll their eyes at. But I'm just going to ask you guys to think about something here. 7-on-7, like girls flag football, is going to be a thing.
It's getting a lot more popular.
So there's that. He has 2 daughters.
2 daughters who love football.
So there's that.
He's talked about this before.
He's also added a youth girls football camp to their football camp school. So there's that. And you're trying to increase your demographics. So
you're trying to grow the sport.
So there's that. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I have a hard time any time somebody poo-poos something that doesn't hurt them, and B, like if you can get another group of people to love Nebraska, like that's a win. That's a win.
Yeah.
Like it's easy to me, and it doesn't hurt anybody.
And you're not going to turn it over all at once, but you do have to get.
You got to get younger.
You need a youth movement.
Yeah.
Husker games. So soccer's at 4:30. That's Wyoming. It's free admission and parking. That's at the old. I call it the bar, but it's really Hibner. That's at the stadium. Then volleyball, obviously, 6:30 versus Kansas. So $10 for UNL students, $20 standing room, $30 C level, $45 B level, $45 A level, $60 courtside / VIP. Did you read that as different than? So this is where I'm a little confused.
Yeah.
As the ticket to the garage sale.
Yes, I think any of those would be the ticket to the garage
Suffice.
sale. Yeah, I think so. That's how I understood it. The way I understood it is basically if you bought anything, you could go to the garage sale.
Okay. Then obviously presented by a great sponsor in NFNBO. Priority groups on sale starting March 11th, which is next Tuesday. So you've got 9 a.m., 11 a.m., noon, 1 p.m., 2 p.m., 3 p.m., although the 3 p.m. is general public. That's the difference between right and fair. I think that's fair, right?
Sure, yeah.
I don't want to talk you into it.
Well, I mean, so I would have gone the other way. I think it's right. I don't know if it's fair.
No, I just said fair. They're just different.
Yeah.
I'm not sure which is which.
So I think the right thing to do is to reward the people that pay your bills. And so that's the priority ticketing with the people with the boosters, right? It's not fair, right? Because I'm sure some people that would be boosters if they were financially able would love to be in those first groups. But I understand you have to, it's kind of like priority boarding. Like the people that pay the most get to get on the plane first. That's how it works.
Yeah.
So I get it. It didn't bother me. I actually think it's a good setup to give the fans something. You're getting a real volleyball match between Nebraska and Kansas. That's pretty cool. Like I'm excited about that. And that thing's gonna sell out in a hurry because it's the first time you get to see DBK, right? Like thing's gonna be gone.
Mm-hmm.
I do like that they're featuring multiple sports. I wish, and I knew it wasn't going to be, I wish the football was going to be a little more football-y.
Mm-hmm.
That's my only real complaint. But I legitimately, and it's because I'm a dork, very excited about the garage sale. Like I've been legitimately, I like the stuff that you can't buy other places that you don't usually have access to.
How many people do you think would you extrapolate that you could get through a tour of the complex? Because you're not going to start in the same place.
No. So you're almost going to do like a shotgun start for a golf tournament.
Yeah, and you probably have 4 different starting spots.
You got 4 different starting spots.
I'm guessing.
And let's just call it that. And 4 hours.
You may start weight room, nutrition. You may start locker room. You may start tunnel walk. You may start coach's office.
So how many is that?
4.
Okay. So 4 hours, 4 different starting points. So we'll call it 16 total groups. 100 people? Can you get 100 people through?
In one deal?
In an hour, like per group?
Yes.
So 1,600 at $50 a pop?
Is that safe? It's probably low.
Maybe, but I think it's safe. I think it's a safe number you could definitely get through.
So 1,600 times 50.
Do some quick maths here.
That's 80,000.
Look at you.
Right?
Right on the money. Yeah, that makes sense. So 80, I mean, that's what? How many spring game tickets is 80,000?
And that's just the tour part.
Yeah.
It's not part of the all-inclusive.
Right, yeah.
It adds up in a hurry.
How many spring game tickets is $80,000? 8,000?
Well, they were $10, right?
Yeah, so 8,000?
Yeah.
That'll do. We'll have Mike Sautter coming up next.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live.
Oh yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
Mike Sautter.
Yeah.
Mike Sautter.
Oh man, you're gonna put me on the spot.
Mike Sautter.
Kicking off hour number 3 here on Hurrdat Sports Live, presented by Centris Federal Credit Union. That's DBM Ravi Lulla. We are joined now by Mike Sautter of Hurrdat Sports and NEB Prep. Sautter, what's going on, man?
Yeah, Damon, are you a balloon animal? What kind of balloon animal are you today?
I would probably be a dolphin. I've seen guys. I've seen them like whip up a dolphin. It'd be something in the water. You know what I mean?
I thought it'd be like a killer whale. You're a big killer whale guy.
I don't know if you could do that in a balloon. I'm
Maybe.
sure you get a similar shape if you can do dolphins.
Yeah,
but the balloon is easy because you get the bottlenose
Sure.
and then the body. I've seen.
Yeah.
They tie the little fin on there.
These we're kind of working our Omaha beef colors. I thought you might go like a cow here.
Yeah, we missed you last or midday yesterday at our client appreciation event. It's very well done.
Yeah, I was in Sioux Falls.
I know.
Sorry.
So how did you time this? As soon as you're done with us, you're coming back?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. I'm ready to roll. Suitcase, bag, everything's packed, showered up. I'm just gonna hit the door. Right. But even my shoes are on. I'm just ready to roll.
Go. It's funny too, because strategically, for a little insight how the sausage is made, I was sitting with Mike when he sat down for the 5 minutes he did, barely. I love the yellow vest too. He's like my safety patrol taking photos. He's like mapping out the timeline in order to still do the segment, get on the road, and get to Lincoln in a meaningful amount of time. So you just didn't like wake up and go all willy nilly. You planned.
Yeah, there's a lot of preparation with not only me but Sasha and other people that for this week, I guess, or weekend for my personal, there's a lot of planning for like what our coverage looks like on NEB preps for the state girls basketball tournament and will next week. But as far as my personal, there was a lot of like, okay, do this step, this time, all that. So I'll be back in Lincoln. I don't know. It snowed in Sioux Falls about like 3 inches. So I will see on the way back how that works. I probably won't be able to do the whole like for the first hour on the drive back from Sioux Falls where you can just put that thing on about 87 and go. I don't think that's going to happen today, but I will get to Lincoln as soon as I can get to Lincoln, which I was hoping to be about for the 1:30 semifinal games.
Hey, before we get to that, I want to go right where you were. Is Omaha was impressive again, and man, their ability to guard out on the wings is pretty good.
Yeah,
that like the way that roster is built with its length, I think is different. Or would you agree it's different than how a lot of teams built their roster in the Summit?
Yeah, absolutely. The league isn't used to that kind of length and athleticism on the wings. It just isn't. Especially like guards and the 1 through or the 2, 3, 4 is not used to that athleticism and length. Normally you look around the league and you're like St. Thomas is a very good team. Saw them for the first half last night and saw them obviously when they played in Omaha, and they're very good, but they're not built like that. They're not built like Omaha is. They run their stuff really well, but and their switchability, that's something that I mentioned. I remember post-game press conference with Coach Crutch after they won. I think it was Mount Marty they played or someone way early in December. And I was like, hey, your switchability on the wing with Markel Sutton, Cam Thomas, Jay-Sean Glover, like they're all really good defenders and have some length there is going to be a problem. And obviously it is. And last night it was. And shutting off Jamar Brown from Kansas City, that kid, he's really good and can go off on you in a hurry. So they handled business, but it wasn't perfect. And I say that when a team that was leading by 18 points in the second half.
So Sautter, let me ask you because I do find the way that they constructed the roster pretty fascinating because I was a pretty vocal opponent of the fact that they were not recruiting a lot of Nebraska high school kids that end up playing in the Summit League. But do you think it may be as simple as they looked at which types of teams Summit League teams struggle with in the NCAA tournament and maybe in non-con, and they go, oh, well, maybe if we just built like that, we'd be pretty good?
Yeah, probably a little bit. Yeah. It is. I was a vocal opponent of it, right? For someone that believes in Nebraska high school kids all the time. I was like, oh, wait, hey, like, why aren't you, there's kids here, right here, like recruit them. I was, and I've told members of their staff that I don't have a problem with that. I do think it was probably, hey, let's look around the league and see what everyone else is not and try and be the opposite of that, but have some skill to go with that. And that certainly has helped. And they're big, right? Like their posts, like Josh Stree, the backup, Isaac, I am not going to say it right. Anaconda has played really well down the stretch here. Yesterday, they just went to him in the post and it worked. So they're big, like thick, strong guys. And hey, you know what? We've named almost everyone on the roster except for the starting point guard, JJ White, who was also a first team all league guy to go. So,
in my former life, I was leaving the building and then Coach Crandall was coming back from the airport picking up JJ White and wanted some stuff signed for a fundraiser that Coach Crutch was having in year one. As he's sitting in the front seat, and I'm thinking Georgia and length, I got an idea right away of what they were going to be after in terms of playing in the backcourt.
Yeah, they don't. I mean, that's something that he has. Coach Crutch has certain metrics of like, in order to play the 2 or the 3, you have to be this height, this length, all that. And hey, frankly, it's working right now. So like, we can knock it for it. And I give him credit. He stuck to his guns when people told him that, like me, that told him, hey, you should be recruiting some more local kids here and whatever. And it was like, nah, they don't fit the size and athleticism metric that we want. He stuck to his guns and it's working out. It's been a great ride and story. I mean, I guess I've been to now 15 of their game or 14 of their games this season and covered 14 of them. By the way, maybe I'm the secret weapon because they're 12-2 in those 14 games. I'm just saying.
Team Sautter. So. I think a little closer than probably North Dakota, South Dakota State. What do you think happens real quick in South Dakota and North Dakota State?
South Dakota has 2 guards that can really get going, so that will be interesting. North Dakota State obviously is well coached. It's going to be a matter of, can South Dakota speed up North Dakota State enough? Because they like to press and pressure and all that stuff, but they also give up. It's if you break it quick, you give up some stuff on the back end or backside. That one will be good. The North Dakota South Dakota State game is very interesting. Their South Dakota State's going to have to just go to Oscar Clough over and over and over and over again, and I think they can maybe find success there. I guess a little banged up maybe. So that probably doesn't help them. They also lost, at North Dakota. They lost like the last week here of the regular season for South Dakota State hasn't been awesome. Just watching last night at those 2 semis, I can't imagine St. Thomas and Omaha not playing for the final on Sunday night at 8 p.m. They're just better, right? Like they just are. It's going to take a pretty big effort for them, or they'll just have to like totally fall apart for those 2 teams not to play in the final. And if that's the case,
Nebraska or Omaha's in.
Omaha's in. So Omaha's in no matter what, even if they lose the league. I know they want to win that league title, like the tournament. Like they don't want to get in some backdoor way, but like that game would be pretty sweet, I think, on Sunday night, if that ends up what it ends up being.
Hey, an invite's an invite. I'll take it however you can get it. Sautter, let's switch gears to Nebraska high school girls state going on right now. There were some upsets early in some of the Class D, I believe. There was a couple upsets as well. Have we seen anything that really shocked you at this point yet?
Shelton losing was Wilcox Soldiers getting that win kind of was pretty shocking. Like, that was pretty big. Not a lot. I don't think so. There wasn't really major upsets outside of that. In A and B, it was pretty.
You chalked the Bellevue West, Bellevue East up to the rivalry because that I wouldn't say shocked. The final score surprised me a little bit.
Yeah, how that they won kind of going away a little bit. I don't think that was like the rivalry thing. I will say the game plan worked for Bellevue West to play fast and play faster and try and go faster and faster and faster and just wear out Bellevue East. And it kind of worked, right? Like middle of the fourth quarter, Bellevue East kind of just lost some juice. And then Bellevue West was able to stretch it out a little bit. Other than that, West Side winning wasn't a major surprise, I guess.
Boy, it's weird how a game kind of boils down exactly how you thought. You wondered if both teams could take care of the ball, but it basically boiled down to the backcourt.
Yeah, and that's and West Side's is better, so that's what happened. That game. Go ahead. No, I was gonna say that Bell West Side game today.
You like good young guard play?
It's gonna be good.
But Bellevue West youth in the backcourt and both boys and girls. You talk good guard play will be in that 315 game. How if you're North Star, besides guarding the arc, is there anything that you could take away in the first period and a half of that Millard South game that you're like, I think we can replicate that?
Mate, no. The 1-3-1 North Star plays and the length that they have might give Millard West a little bit of problems. But the key here, there's two things, and these people do not get brought up enough when you were talking about Millard West or Millard West girls basketball, is Kylie Pabin is pretty good. And she has ability to kind of get in a short corner and knock down some shots, and then that'll decipher that 1-3-1. Also, Jay Lewis is good too and tough and can penetrate and not afraid at all because her brother is Tyson Lewis, the baseball player, if you didn't know. So if that's your older brother, you better be tough. So I think those are kind of keys, right? Like everyone talks about the twins, rightfully so. Like Neely and Nora Gessert are amazing. They're very good. But I do think that Pabin doesn't get enough love for some reason. She's pretty good. And now Annie Lou was awesome against Westview for North Star. She is very good too. So I think that matchup's intriguing. And does, that 1-3-1, does Millard West just, if they're not making the first handful, do they just keep chucking, or do they like, okay, we need to slow down and get the ball into the short corners and get some middle coverage and some penetration in the middle and then kick it or something like. So the game plan will be very interesting.
Sautter, who have you liked in terms of an individual performance through the first day across classes?
Well, Molly Ladwig's really good. So like newsflash. She's
So what has to happen for Bennington?
Foul trouble.
God.
No, it's not that. An act of God is not.
The whole beat a team a third time. Like I get it. Happened to Pius against Gretna East, which was pretty. That I was low key impressed, man, because Pius had already beat them twice and two higher scoring games. Obviously, 35-28 is not going to be a high scoring game, but Pius had gotten that thing into the 40s the first two times in December and January, and Gretna East found a way to lock them up.
Yeah, the one thing on the Gretna East thing. So one of those games, maybe both of them, but I know one of them for sure because I put it for a game of the week option, and weekday Wade Coulter, the man, the myth, the legend, weekday Wade at Gretna East coach, he texted me and he said, "Hey, hope this game doesn't win because we got about 4 girls out this weekend because they're club sports."
I think
So,
that was the January 28th one, I think.
yeah, so they didn't have, like Sonora DeFini, who's one of the best athletes in the state overall. Like they didn't have that's the cool. Here's the thing. That is the cool thing about Wade, to be honest. Like he did it at Lincoln Lutheran with those volleyball girls, and he lets them. He plays both. He plays nice, I'll say. Like he's comfortable maybe losing a couple games because his best athletes have to go play soccer or volleyball on a weekend during the season, and he knows that in order to get them out for basketball as their secondary sport, he's going to have to work with those people and those club sports. It's worked for him in now 2 stops, not just once, but twice in different schools in different situations. So I give him a lot of credit for being pretty flexible there. And not saying, and I'm absolutely not saying that high schools should bend the knee to club sports, but especially during their season. But if you have to make it work, make it work. And that's what he's doing. Pretty big win for them yesterday. It's a pretty big win.
I do think that there is something to be said there. It's not really bending the knee to me, but like I think we've gone way too far with high school and youth sports in not making it easy for people to play multiple sports.
I just remember Coach Booth on social media last year and the year before about this time talking about appreciates the coaches. Obviously when you have kids that play both sports, which her daughter did. She's a volleyball coach. Some of that stuff, it plays well in the long haul.
Well, and I think just, you call it playing nice, and that's fair. I think it's doing what's best for the kid, right? If the kid wants to be able to play both sports, it's really selfish to make it impossible for that to happen. Like that's not being a good, like if you're a youth coach, you're being crappy. Like that's a crappy thing.
But that's on both ends, right?
I would like to see it happen a little more in softball too, but we still have some work to do there, I think. And
this isn't just a women's sport. I mean, the guys,
right?
They're crappy about it too.
Yeah. And it's, gosh, I'm gonna be real careful with what I say right here because it could make someone mad. There needs to be a little more give to from the club side of things. Like if you have to miss a practice, a club practice, let's say it's volleyball, just saying, for a high school basketball game, that should be okay. And in some cases, it's not. So you're driving people away from the one or the other. Now, in this Gretna East case, I mean, go back to what a phenomenal job understanding and having a plan for both. Like, because Wade knows that in order for his team to be successful on the basketball court, he needs better athletes that maybe soccer or volleyball is their primary sport. He knows that. And there should be some give and take on both ends. That to where you can still find a way to be successful and be for kids and not just for either your ego or money, etc.
I kind of I don't want to fast forward. I want to preview a little bit next weekend in Lincoln, right? Obviously the city of Lincoln, the capital city represented, they've got 3 teams in. You have rematches coming off of losses. You have great stories. Bellevue West continued ascent. Papio, new kids on the block, man, just hanging tough. the wild card thing. That thing took on a life of its own, man. I know you had to kind of buckle down, man. How are you kind of previewing this deal? It was a lot that happened.
Yeah, Monday was wild.
Everybody plays on the same night, right?
Right. And that's kind of the beauty of it too, right? Like everybody play on one. They give the option to play on Monday or Tuesday, and then weather or something you play Wednesday. But it's normally Monday and Tuesday. And some schools really like playing on the Tuesday because they know what they have to do on that, because people played on the Monday. I talked to coaches and athletic directors about it, and they would prefer to play on the second day. First, let me touch on the wild card thing. Like it's been a system that's been in place for over 25 years. It's worked pretty well for all the years. Same system, everyone loses, or everyone has played, and frankly, no one got cheated. So, like, because everyone is playing by the same rules and has for 25 years. Now, if you want to blame referees and stuff in the game and all that, that's totally different. I'm saying, like, the system isn't rigged towards one team or another. Like, that's not the case. That didn't happen. That isn't what happened. Frankly, if you want to blame the system, blame the system of OPS has to play every OPS school and sometimes multiple times. And frankly, this year in boys basketball, OPS, there were, of the 9 schools, there were 2 that had a winning record. So that plays into your wild card points, and that probably affected some stuff. Just is what it is.
Yeah.
Those are the facts. That's not me throwing shade at anybody. That's factual numbers. So before people want to come at me about it, that's just 2 of the 9 had a winning record, and that plays into your wild card points for the season average.
You're a wild card guy, right?
Yeah, I don't mind it at all. I think it's kind of fun.
Okay.
So I think it's good, and it rewards someone that maybe had one bad night. It rewards a team that had a great season, and maybe like someone just is on a crazy heater. And like, I look at Millard West Side that night, like that district final game is like, wait, what? That Millard North district final game at West Side, where Brett Porter hit that 3. That was what, 45 years ago? Like,
are you talking about the one where West Side had beat Millard West like by 40? Got beaten districts.
Yes. Yeah. Like sometimes it's just, right. Like sometimes stuff happens. So I do like the wild card system. I think it's cool. There was some wild, crazy conspiracy theory stuff that I saw. Man, I need to stay off Facebook because that was wild.
If we get any vitriol or push from the show, it's typically from the book.
I think
it's just a thing, right?
It's a different place.
It's just a different place.
It's a wild west out there. No, sorry. To the games, I didn't answer your first question. Like we said all year, up for grabs, baby. Anybody.
You've looked at the matchups. Who would you make the fave?
I don't know.
I only ask because I keep hearing Papio South, and I get it.
They just lost to Papio though.
I totally get it, right?
Not just, but they lost.
At least one of them.
Mm-hmm.
A certified bucket getter. I look at the matchups, but then I look at the halves of the bracket too.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of thinking about that. Still a coin flip for you? Because it is for me.
If you look at, okay, Bellevue West beat Millard North months ago, like a couple months ago now. I was there for that game. Millard North is playing a lot better, found some toughness, all that stuff. Bellevue West is also playing better. And by the way, if you didn't know that Keaton Melcher, that name, you will.
People still let him sit out there and shoot without him making him put it on the deck. This dude is going to make threes.
It's just as hard as you can get closeout. Like, touch the guy.
Background story. Right? He was playing. This was probably 4th grade, 5th grade. I know this is like maybe not great radio. He single-handedly beat Micah's team. I bet he had like 28, and 24 of them were from 8 threes. Is incredible.
He single-handedly beat Prep in the first quarter on Monday night.
It's like, all right, Kay. All right, I see.
Also, to the Bellevue West thing, I want to say this.
Shout out to his wife and Kins and Keaton, because it certainly isn't about Kevin.
Hey, Robbie Garcia though, what he has done with this team this year, not only just like set the career rebounding record, and he had 24 rebounds, 7 of them offensive against, I don't know what some people think is the best post player in the state in a district final. Not only did he do that, him staying at Bellevue West when he could have left and gone anywhere and built a super team with, like, let's say if Robbie Garcia is at Papio South, Millard North, West Side, whatever, how much better would they be? So him staying there and riding with those young guys, and like, that's a legacy type of thing, right? Like, that's a thing where, man, like, good on you. I mean, for doing that in a day and age where a lot of people would have bailed because, you know, Jaden Jackson's gone and all these seniors are gone and we just won a state title. And how am I going to do it with all these young guys that don't have the varsity level experience? I don't know. You're going to make the state tournament again because that's what Bellevue West does.
Mike Sautter, NAB Preps, Hurrdat Sports. Appreciate it as always. We'll let you get on the road so you can get back to Lincoln, and then I assume you're heading back up on Saturday?
Yeah, Saturday coming back to Sioux Falls, and then I will, Nebraska men, they got a pretty big game on Sunday, and that's my primary college basketball beat, and I will be in Lincoln on Sunday morning, and then
Sunday at home against Iowa to even have a chance to get in.
Yeah, they have. I mean, like,
I know that's how you had it drawn up.
Yeah, it's just. Hey, can you imagine? I'm glad we're not on radio now because I can say this part. Can you imagine the kick in the
computer? Why are you so close? What is this? What are you gonna say?
Sorry, I was gonna say, can you imagine the kick in the nuts if Iowa is the team that just crushes their season and dreams?
For the 3 quarters against Michigan State last night, they looked like they'd be fully capable. They They looked like a team that wasn't fighting for much. They gave Sparty all they wanted.
Man, and it's a rivalry game. Like, it's gonna be nuts. It's a sold out game Sunday. Nebraska has to win to get into the Big Ten tournament. So like, and I do honestly, I think if Nebraska men's basketball can win Sunday, and then they can win at least one in the Big Ten tournament, I think they're going to be like a 10 or in that 11-11 playing game in the NCAA tournament because the bubble is so weak.
The bubble is weak, but the bid stealers are strong, Mike Sautter. We'll talk.
Yeah. All right.
Talk to you later. Drive safe.
Yeah. Bye.
Hurrdat Sports Live coming up next.
We will be back. We will be back. will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live.
Welcome back, Hurrdat Sports Live. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill, where you can get the monthly specials, some fish and chips. Reuben, you said you saw the fish last night.
Yeah.
So what type of batter was it?
It's the kind you like.
Oh, okay, good.
Although it's technically beer battered.
Okay.
But it is.
It's what I was talking about.
1,000 pictures yesterday, like some weirdos.
Just looking at fish batter.
Well, I wanted to make sure we were talking about the same thing.
No, I was on board.
I
might have to make a little lunch order.
I love how you said it's like the second or third nice thing you've done in, I don't know, the 10 years or whatever. But you're like, I'll take one for the team. I'll order I'll get the fish and send you a picture. I'm like, heck, you don't have to do that. I'm just gonna go talk to the staff.
So
Plus, it gave me time to hide.
I'm so selfless, just ordering good food on your behalf. I got you.
I'm totally watching Bill too, like work the room, even though it's not what he likes to do. I'm like, I gotta get I'm decent. Like I've faked for 25 years. I'm normally decent. Yesterday was a little harder for me though.
Really?
Yeah.
Just like weren't hard to get in the groove.
Well, I have zero control.
Sure. It is pretty open and like
zero.
Yeah, I feel you.
All right, and my temperament was just that wasn't. Oh, it was funny too because I was talking to a couple of people. And they're like, "Why are you sitting in the corner?" I'm like, "Just collecting my thoughts. I'm gonna recharge." What I say to you when you walked in the door? I felt bad because I felt I was a little aggressive, and then I was like, "Well, he knows I'm joking."
No, I genuinely felt bad because I wanted to be here. I was probably going to be here just before.
What did I say?
You said
yesterday's kind of a blur.
You said, "Where you been, man? I've been walking around for the last hour like a little kid looking for my parents."
Okay, you didn't have to say.
No,
Okay,
that's what
you could have generally said it.
That's what you said. You asked me what you said. I wasn't going to put you on blast, but you're like, "What did I say?" So I'm like, "Okay."
Paraphrase.
Let's go, baby.
Serious?
It's my bad. I did feel bad though, because I meant to be there earlier, and so I went home to let the dogs out.
I'm
good. I went home to let the dogs out.
I hope you enjoy your fish.
And I was like, "Oh man, I kind of
Don't choke.
Don't choke.
Can I pet that dog?
Eat slow.
Had some congestion going on, so I took a little cold medicine, and I sat down for a minute. I just passed out.
I envy you people that can do that during the day.
I wasn't happy about it. I was trying to get ready.
I envy you people.
I was just like, "Oh man, I just need to sit for a second."
What are you taking?
It was just I don't
because a lot doesn't work
for a cold.
Yeah.
So I do kind of a combo platter. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Okay.
Because there's no okay. I know we got some medical professionals that listen to us, so I don't want them to don't want to put me on blast here.
Oh.
What?
As if you just did go verbatim.
You asked me what you said.
You know better. Like you didn't have to do the whole kid parent thing. It's fine. It is.
No, but I did feel bad because I intended to be here for you, and I that's on me. That's on me.
Sasha had my bag.
She usually does. She usually does. But no, it was so I'll usually go a day if it's daytime, I'll usually go a Dayquil, and then I'll take a couple Advil on top of it, and then I usually take an allergy pill as well.
Oh, yeah, that's a lot. My barber turned me on to Coricidin.
Oh, okay.
Because the rest of the stuff doesn't really work.
I haven't tried that.
Just had to call in a script in Lincoln for Caleb.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, you have everything at your disposal. You do not need.
He doesn't need you to call.
Well, actually, he bypassed me. He's talking to Jay. He's like, yeah, Caleb has this. I'm like, how do you know? Shoot.
I do think that's funny. It's a little funny.
I'm over you this segment.
You over me?
Yeah.
What'd I do?
Oh, super happy.
What?
I'm over you.
Are you over giving out winners to our friends?
No, because I'm mad at what you call it. Because it was really a push. Technically, it wasn't.
SIU?
Really it wasn't a win.
Well, it depends on where you got it.
I
Because if you
know.
waited till late, they were a half a point favorite.
Oh.
So you would have got it
I know.
on the game winner.
I don't know what people do when they do.
I don't either. But I'm not gonna put that one on you because technically you beat the closing line.
That's the goal.
You beat the closing line, so that's a win.
So today is easy for your $5.
Okay.
Or 10.
For what it used to cost you to go to a spring game.
Did you finish the math? Because I think it's extraordinary what you were trying to do.
Yeah. So here's what I'm gaming out.
I need some help. I need a number. You need
So I'm averaging out because I don't know how
TK
many
or Ryan or somebody.
I don't know how many people per section are for volleyball because that's going to be the big ticket. So there's 10,000 at the Bob.
So I think it's somewhere between 8 and 10. Some say like 84.
But
some
they're doing
talk about
standing room only.
I
so
know.
I'm going to say 10.
Okay. 10's fine.
Is that fair?
Yeah, say 10.
So I'm going to average it out because the standing room were 20. The one section was 45, one section was 55, one section was 65, right? So I'm going to call it 40 as an average.
$1?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that fair?
Yeah.
So 40.
Although I think that's you're giving the number of seats.
Yes.
In each
$1.
Yeah. Okay.
So like if I'm averaging out.
So
that puts you at 400,000 if you sell it out. If you average it out to $40 a seat at 10,000, 40,000, we did another 80 for the tours. We haven't even gotten to football yet, and we're basically breaking even.
Okay, so you saw the note for the food truck vendors was non-alcoholic.
Yeah.
Is that because they're going to serve alcohol in the stadium or not yet?
That's a terrific question. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm
I
asking,
hadn't-
except it's more rhetorical.
I hadn't thought of that. I honestly,
I
hadn't-
think they may be fun if they're doing it inside as like a trial.
Sure.
Maybe they don't want you
They
to
want to
be
funnel dollars inside.
inside.
Yeah, which makes sense.
Or they're not doing it at all.
My guess would be they're not doing it at all, but I don't know.
All right, baseball's got it.
It's a really long day. I don't know if you want people drinking that whole time. I don't know.
You ever stood in line for fan day?
I have not actually.
Back in the day.
Hey, little Timmy, hold my fake Gatorade.
I mean, listen, people want to.
It looks a little watered down. Well, I
not-
had it in the freezer. The ice melted.
That's not water, little Timmy.
Hold my Gatorade.
No, I
don't know why I said Timmy.
I don't either.
Nobody's naming their kids Timmy anymore.
I don't. Is that true?
Timmy doesn't. I don't know. You could always Google top 24 boy
What about-
names.
what
It's a
about
lot of
Kyle
Liams and Cohens and
Braxton?
Everybody.
Yeah, Braxtons,
Jackson with an X.
and Olivers, and
Ethan.
We're getting a lot of Olivers.
Ethans.
We're getting a lot of Olivers.
I don't get a lot of Tims.
I don't think we're getting a lot of Olivers.
Don't put that crap on me.
Do you know any Tims under the age of 20?
I don't know any Olivers at the age of anything.
Oh yeah, Zoe's.
Is there a lot of Olivers in the
Zoe's
younger?
class has two.
Really?
Yeah, Olivers, Colton.
Colton's a big one. Colton's a big one.
He's naughty.
It's always funny to me when to listen to parents talk about other kids in their kids' class. They're like, "Oh, he's not a good kid."
Well, we just had parent-teacher conferences.
I was just talking to somebody yesterday. I was like, "Oh man, not a good kid." Just
wow. And it was a youngin'? There's time to change. You don't have to box them in.
No, but for now, it's not a huge fan of huge fan of their work.
I like.
I'll say who are our winners.
Well, TK, golly, TK, you could just call me. I like Illinois.
Give me my bets, DB.
and this is crazy, but if you want to, 5 to make 18 or whatever,
yeah,
High Point as well. Take High Point. Take Illinois. Trust me on this one. Thank me later.
I'm always taking High Point. Our guy Al Huss is doing work down there.
100%. And how about
that dude's a coach.
Hey, so all in on High Point. Thank you for pointing that out. You know another one of a former staff member who had to leave quickly?
Who's that?
Take a look at what Central Connecticut's
Is
done.
it Sellers?
Yes.
Yeah, Central Connecticut State.
His
they're
last
balling.
2.5 years,
They're a good squad.
they are crushing it.
Yeah. Huss is going to get a high major job sooner rather than later.
Well, High Point.
Yeah, that's I'm all on.
I'm a little biased, but
And you like Illinois minus 4.5?
Yeah.
All right, there you go. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. That's a bet on it. We've got Matt Vrzal coming up next.
We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live. Now let's find out what Matt Vrzal is better at. telling stories, or making pizza.
Matt.
Matt's an exceptional young man.
Matt Vrzal.
Happy birthday, Matt.
You know, Matt, he's a tremendous athlete.
Matt Vrzal.
Come on, Matt, I'm with you.
You know, like Matt Vrzal, you're one of the sexiest people in the world, but you're not one of the most beautiful. How did that happen?
Here is Matt Vrzal.
All right, Matt, thank you very much.
Wrapping up the show and the week as we always do here on Hurrdat Sports Live with our friend Matt Vrzal, former Husker, owner of Paisans Pizzeria. What's up, Verz?
What's up, fuckers?
How you?
I think we're 3 for 3.
This is going to happen.
That's how we're doing it.
Oh, yeah. We're on the internet now. It's a lawless land.
I'm going to say hello anyway. So
that's how I say hello to people.
Yeah, it clearly is. Did you save me any of the stuff that you cut up? Because you had jokes. You were making me mad. I just wanted a simple yes. I need that in my life. I didn't need your sarcasm or.
That was funny, though.
Oh, it wasn't.
You snooze, you lose. That stuff's gone.
Are you
good? It's gone.
Are you serious?
Yeah. I got time for you to be lollygagging around.
What's your next question for Matt, Ravi? I hope you're joking. I'm waiting.
Gone. What I had to give to you was gone.
What do you mean if I snooze, I lose? You gave me like 20 minutes to respond.
It's fast acting world, baby. You got to get on.
No, he did. Wait a minute. This is how you know he's been around kids. You did not. Your background, mine, did not just tell me I need to get on.
Yeah, I did.
All right, hipster. All right, cool guy.
Me and the kids. I'm one with the kids. Me and Wu-Tang, we're for the kids.
Micah would say to me, Dad, you need me to put you on?
You want me to say it's 6'7" or wherever that is? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Well, I don't even know what that means.
Nobody does. It doesn't mean nothing.
Are you really out?
Of what I was going to give to you, yeah. I had a whole little setup for you.
Great. I know you're just rubbing it in because you know I'm getting mad, but I'm gonna. This is woosah self-control. Not doing it. I'm not doing it.
You got Frankie sitting up there, the man.
Yeah. You know. So do you know what these two are up here because they're guys that win a lot of games. People kind of hate on them. Career is kind of defined by who they chose at quarterback. Highly competitive guys.
Yeah.
And they have awesome. They both wear cool hats. You like that?
You had me till the hats. Like, I think there's better Nebraska.
Are you ever in your life just going to go along to get along?
I think there's better hats out there. I'm not going to lie to you.
Well, I didn't say it was creme de la creme.
Frank's got a good hat on. They represent, well, one represents what used to be a stable organization. The other one represents a very stable organization.
You can see Nebraska moving back towards stability.
That's a tough one. I can. I mean, I can see pretty much anything in great situations or scenarios, but it's the time now where it's like the rubber has to meet the road.
Mm-hmm.
Like product on the field has to meet expectation and those kind of things. By the way, Ravi, when Damon hints at you things like that, like they might be selling booze in the stadium, he knows they're probably going to sell booze in the stadium.
No, I actually don't.
Why are you? I mean, and then my question is this: you're going to be selling food in the stadium. Why sell food outside? You got to make money.
Okay, let's process through that. How does that work?
You think the vendors are paying?
No, I'm going to ask. I'm going to ask the business owner. So you got to assume
it better be.
The vendors are probably paying Nebraska a fee. No, maybe they aren't. Though.
I don't know if you can go at a food truck like that because the food truck part of it, while you're in a food truck, is you want low entry cost, and the food truck food is amazing.
Wait, I don't know what that
really good.
Like low overhead, you don't have a brick and mortar.
Oh, you mean in general as the business?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
you get your truck and you get your supplies, and you're of course more agile. You don't need a boatload of staff. You can get by and you go location to location, and you got 3-4 employees, and away you go.
And
so to charge them, I'd be surprised if they charged them.
Doesn't seem Nebraska-y, although they have opened up a lot of different revenue streams. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, like even for like this event, you can see strategically how they do it. It would be like you saying to me, not me, because some days you like me, but like let's say you have people that just want to do what I do, sit in there. You don't need anybody to wait on them, but I'm occupying a space, right? So you may say to me, okay, that's fine. You may charge me 3 paying customers. For you just to sit here and mind your own business, it's going to cost you $30 extra. And I may pay that, right? Because of kind of how, like what I want to accomplish. So if Nebraska sets up the day the way that they do with the garage sale, and you can't do the garage sale unless you buy a deal for another game, and it works out this way sequentially, they may just be already stacking the money based on how they set it up.
You can do the garage sale at any time.
You can't. So you can't do that. You can't go to the. You can't do that thing without buying
either volleyball, a tour, or football ticket.
So you're in baseline for no less than $10.
I really feel like you're just creating yourself a lot. You're going to get $10 tickets, like you're just creating. Like to me, just open stadium. Let everybody go get boozed up, play the game, see what you got going on, and then call it a day.
All right, so I want to go back to the alcohol versus food thing. Maybe Nebraska will want you to eat outside as much as you can, so they don't have to staff the concessions inside if they are going to do practice alcohol sales. Maybe you want more body. I don't really know.
Maybe it's just, we talked about how long of a day it's going to be. Maybe they just want people to have food between events. Like if because if you're starting at 8 a.m. with tours, I imagine concessions
that's right. 8 to 2. 8 to 2 is the food trucks, and then once the thing starts at 2, you're already in the stadium.
So that's probably
probably what it is.
There you go.
Does that make sense?
None of it makes sense to me, but I would just play a
okay,
game.
is this because
I would just play a game and call it a day.
You just want to see the spring game.
Correct. I want to see with my own eyes what you got. I don't want to watch the dumbest thing ever created, 7-on-7. I would go watch the volleyball.
The volleyball's cool. I like that idea.
Yeah, it's a great idea. But I don't work up there, so they don't care what I say. I can't find my chew, and I'm getting pissed.
I know something is clearly wrong with you. Like, are you talking about the little white thing you put in, or like?
No, I got those in. I need a dip. Dip.
So you double
Cannot
up.
find it.
Dip.
2 of these and a dip. These are 9 milligrams too. Shout out Kim Hall. She's got some new 9 milligrammers out there. They're great.
Just did.
Yeah, he looked like a little walrus for a second with the 2 packs out.
Is that normal, or is that just you because of the way you rev?
That's all day, every day.
But most people don't put 2 in, do they?
Nope. Very true.
Do that again.
Cut from a different cloth, Benny.
You didn't even use your
cut from a different cloth.
Burrs is built different,
and he's like frisky because he can't find a dip.
I know. I did think he was looking for something. I couldn't figure out what it was though.
I can't find it. Get pissed.
Yeah, most people get hangry, and you get
dippy,
depangry, or
I don't know what
something that is. So okay, so if you're not like the breakdown though, Matt, for how the day goes, we're kind of football guys, but I'd entertain something for fans. You just at some point you just got to go greater good for this thing, right? And do the whole fan experience.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it'll be a cool day for the fans if you do everything. You go through the tour and you get to see the volleyball and the attempted football. That'd be fun. Be a fun day. I mean, it's regardless of how it goes. I'm just an old curmudgeon. Like I don't get to go to a lot of games. I don't watch a lot of games. I don't do any of this stuff. I let people talk over me when I'm trying to answer very politely.
Right.
But I would just like to see them play because then I like to see with my own eyes. I don't want to wait till the first game. I'm selfish like that. Like I want to see how your transfer linemen look, how your existing linemen look. Who are you going to put in to replace on your defensive line? Like those are all cool things to me that I would love to see, but we don't get to see that. So we'll just have to wait till the first game.
Yeah, I'm with you, Verz. And not even just.
Oh, I have somebody to be crabby with.
Well, I'm not being crabby about it. I like Nebraska football. I want to see him play a game. Like I don't think that's asking a lot.
I mean, it's cool for me because you don't get all the questions answered, but you get a little morsel.
Hey, you get a little taste. It's a little preview.
You're like, how are you going to replace like your receiving core? You get some younger kids are probably going to factor in right away. How does the Georgia Southern transfer? How's he look? So I think he's going to be a stud. So I'd like to see him play, but I like to watch games. Like I like to watch actual games.
Would you have preferred they do just an open practice like they did in the fall as opposed to the 7-on-7 stuff? Like, would you have gotten more from that?
Probably. You could have watched group work and all that stuff and kind of see how it goes. Now group work can be pretty dumbed down and all that as long as I don't need to see 4 full quarters of 1v1 and 2v2, but if we got a nice 15 player after a practice, you bet. I think that'd be great.
A nice fit. What? I'm sorry. Is that a pause? Can I talk?
It's your show. You're just doing what you want.
It's flipping incredible.
Thank you.
I forgot my question. I forgot my question. Can I go back?
Just wait till I get my whiteboard here. I'm going to keep a tally
of how much you mad.
Damon's speechless. Right.
I have a question. Were you ever a coffee drinker?
I've never consumed coffee in my life.
Shane, can you turn your mic on? How much nicotine is in a pack of cigarettes?
A lot.
Probably a lot.
Do you know, like roughly?
I don't know. I know it's probably a lot, and I know. And you're going to ask me about the vape thing, but you can get it in different amounts.
Are we
going
to act like this dude doesn't have 18 milligrams of nicotine in his mouth?
A pack of cigarettes typically contains 22 to 36 milligrams of nicotine.
So you're at almost a pack sitting in your mouth, chilling.
Well, he'll be at it once he gets the dip in.
Every day, all day.
That is flipping incredible. To this day. I'm gonna need you to be better, okay?
Okay.
I'm
get in line.
I'm highly stressed, but I don't need you adding to it, okay?
Why are you stressed?
Oh, fudge. You're nothing. No reason. No reason.
Come on, what's stressing you out?
Now, don't ask me in that voice. Don't do that to me. Don't.
Why are you stressed? You make a lot of stress.
I do.
Don't do that.
I do. It's the hero.
I'm going to pull a T on you. I'm not mad at you, Damon. I'm just disappointed in you. That you create stress for yourself.
Boy, passive aggressive Matt is that's funny to you because you know the backstory.
I do.
Matt, you're absolutely the worst. I'm
So I hear from you every week.
I don't know. I really enjoyed you today, Matt.
That's
too way too weirdos call me Matt too. Like this awkward. Don't do that.
Sorry, Verse.
Okay. You're not acting very Matty like today, so you're definitely not getting that. You're gonna get another word if I can think of one.
What are you thinking?
It's
you gonna cuss?
Stupid smile.
He got so excited that you might curse on air.
Do you want to cuss?
No, I don't.
Just do it. It feels good.
I actually contemplated
it. Did you think about it?
Yeah.
Is the lobby open?
No, we got lunch today. All cheese, baby. Thank God for Lent.
Oh, wasn't that a couple years ago where we went to the grocery store and got stuff? We
had to go get anchovies. I probably have to do.
Yeah, this dude climbing on the shelves like a 4-year-old to get on the top shelf.
Didn't climb on a shelf.
Yes, you did. Did you put your foot on the shelf and look on the top row?
I did not. I just reached my hand up and grabbed the box.
That's a lie. You said, I know there's more back there. Are you really trying to tell me you didn't scale that thing?
But I wouldn't shit you. You're my favorite turd.
All right. Shane, can you cue the music? Matt.
You walked right into that one.
No, I didn't. I think
Richard.
No, I
don't get mad.
I've never heard that saying before. That's really funny.
Why are you so mad today?
It's not
What's
about
going
you.
on?
It's about the saying. The saying.
Caleb's sick. You guys got him meds. What's wrong?
Oh my God.
Zoe's probably in trouble.
He did have conferences yesterday. He did have.
How'd conferences go?
She's fine. She's fine. She's doing well.
She's smart she's smart.
Yeah. No thanks to you.
I know. I didn't make her, so I can't take any credit.
Oh my God.
First, good talking to you, buddy. We'll talk to you next week.
See you, boys.
We'll be back next on Monday with more Hurrdat Sports Live.
See you. Have a good day. Love you.